All right, hello and welcome to the Nexus Gaming Series. I'll be your host for this evening. Thank you all for joining us, everyone that's here already. Really excited and hyped for this Div B East Grand Finals. With how big Div B is growing, we now have Div B Northeast and Div B Southeast. We have the teams that won both of those respective divisions, and now we have a Grand Finals for Div B East. Which will be followed by a grand finals for Div B East and Div B West. So joining me today, we have my co-caster, which is Broomboy. Broomboy, thanks for joining me.
No problem. Looking forward to tonight. Had a chance to watch both of these teams' matches prior, and it should be a good one. There's some distinct stylistic differences, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. You and I actually did a replay cast of the Div B Northeast finals, and then we both watched some of the Phoenix Rising Onyx games on our own. So we hopefully will have some good insight going into the draft here. I've looked at some of the stats. Right now we have everyone in lobby. They're just kind of doing the typical restart machines, make sure everything's in a good spot, and calling readies as they're here. I will go ahead and take us into the maps, bans, and picks. So we had a couple maps banned out today that were, I think, kind of expected based on some research on the team. So we had Wholesome Halfwits banning out Sky Temple and Dragonshire. And then we had Phoenix Rising Onyx banning out Infernal Shrines and Towers of Doom. Any thoughts there, as like for the bans at least, before we go into what they picked up?
Well, I think Towers of Doom and Dragonshire, those are kind of more 1-4 or 1-3-1 maps. So what I saw out of PRO is some pretty good global play, so that definitely makes sense to me. And I know we both were impressed with Wholesome Halfwits team fights and their comboing, both basic and heroic combos. So getting to a small enclosed map, I think, makes a ton of sense as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that we're probably going to. We actually saw that with the map that Wholesome Halfwits picked up. So we had PRO winning the coin toss, and they opted for first pick. We are going to Tomb of the Spider Queen for game one, which kind of resonates there. It is a 3-lane map, but it is a really tight lanes, lots of rotating, lots of team fights and skirmishes as you're trying to get turn in and trying to pick up those gems. So I think we'll see maybe a bit of both strategies kind of being deployed here, and we'll see which one is successful and who goes for what here. All right, so I'm letting them know we're ready to go whenever they are, so we should be starting up any second and going into the draft. I'm interested to see this. I want to see a best of 5. Phoenix Rising Onyx, just talking about standings in their division for a second, they were actually the 6th seed, I believe, in Div B Southeast. Ended up winning the whole thing. So obviously, going to the grand finals. Wholesome Halfwits, though, was in a 3-way tie for first place. They were technically the 2nd seed with the way those tie standings work out, but they ended up sweeping their division as well. So just from a seed perspective in their division, there's a 2nd seed versus a 6th seed, but I really don't think that means much here. It could speak to how close Div B Southeast was as a division. It could also just there's a lot of, sub-metas and things that happen in each division. So, we'll see, hopefully a really interesting series tonight.
Looking forward to it.
First bans coming out, we have Phoenix Rising Onyx banning out the Sylvanas. That's a super typical ban, especially on this map. We also have the Tychus being banned out by Wholesome Halfwits.
Yeah, we saw some really solid Sylvanas play from the Wholesome Halfwits this season. They're currently sitting at 100% win rate over 6 games, so looking like a target ban, and the same goes with the Leoric.
Yeah, I think the May probably is the same, although that could be just like an anti-dive tank that they're trying to just get out of the way. An immediate pickup with Johanna. I think she's really, this is probably one of her better maps, along with Infernal and a couple others. She's great for wave clear. She's just a solid anti-AA. She does some other, great CC things and has some pretty utility ultimates. So I think she's a great pickup.
Yeah, totally agree. We saw some great Johanna play coming out of the Wholesome Halfwits as well. So it acts as a deny, and there are two super meta heroes, Lunara and Dahaka.
Yeah, I wouldn't say this is Dahaka's like most priority map, but I think he's such a high tier pickup right now that he's good basically anywhere. Having a global is almost never a bad thing, especially if the hero is strong otherwise. Lunara has become super meta, becoming first pick. And often banned in the higher levels of play. I think one interesting thing to note about the bans is they didn't ban a lot of what would be considered to be like meta bans. A lot of times you'll see Maiev or you'll see Junkrat on this map. I'm surprised Junkrat hasn't been picked up, but it could be just not in the meta for this division.
Yeah, every division really kind of forms its own metas within NGS.
Yeah,
I think I have seen both teams play Junkrat pretty recently, so I wouldn't be all that surprised. Panda, specifically, that target ban coming out on his Deathwing, he played Deathwing, I believe, 2 times in the finals, and then actually picked the Deathwing Diva skin for his other game.
Just Deathwing all the way. If he were to play Brightwing, it'd be Deathwing Brightwing. I'm interested with the Deathwing ban, and I'm seeing, okay, they ended up going for the Decker Cane. That could, to me, signal a Junkrat, because he can, he ignores all of Junkrat's CC. And they have their pick right now, so we'll kind of see what they fall into. He tends to be great on this map because he can, there's lots of bushes. You have to rotate through, the middle of the map, which is heavily obscured in order to rotate lanes. So he's able to just get a lot of value and constant delay, and then potential for picks. We end up seeing an Orphea and a Muradin. What do you think of that? Spicy. It is spicy.
Muradin definitely is kind of like a all-around good tank. The Orphea with it is strong into Joe because until level 10, if she goes shield, it's hard for Joe really to lock her down, and with the dancing she can do, she can be a real pain.
Yeah, totally agree. There comes that Deathwing Diva skin you were mentioning, along with a Tassadar pickup. I think Diva's a great common choice here. She has good wave clear. She can rotate soak really easily. She also can save her her mech explosion up, and that's a great denial when a spider is pushing in and you just want to have time to clear it without being hindered. Followed by the Malfurion heal as the final pickup there. I'm interested in the Malfurion. I think Malfurion's a great counter to Lucio. We've seen Malavio play Malfurion before. He does a great job with that. It's a great counter to that kind of high 5 CC denial because the way that high 5 works, he's going to skate in and try to cleanse Muradin's dive, jump, and hammer target, or Dahaka's tongue target, or if Dahaka uses silence. And you're going to see that Malfurion route, if it's down there quick enough, actually interrupting that because Lucio doesn't get unstoppable until he's actually successfully connected with the high 5. So, however, Malfurion's weak to burst damage, so Tassadar and Vala could really outpace the Malfurion's ability to burst heal in these team fights. So I think we'll have to see who can execute better on their win condition.
Absolutely.
All right, so as we go into game number 1, I will start with introductions on the side of Wholesome Halfwits. Playing the Muradin, we have Dr. C. Jelly playing the Orphea. We have Neutrons. A nice little jump over there. Malfurion being played by Malavial. Lunar being played by Crooked Smile. And then finally, TKS Tanksta playing the Dahaka.
And we have Northern Touch on the Joanna, Lude Panda 99 on that Deathwing Diva, Paco's Taco on Vala, Delilah on Lucio, and US Maps on Tassadar.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one thing we failed to call out at the start is Neutrons actually is subbing in for G Money Drums today. Should be interesting to see how good the follow-up is to CC, how practiced he is with the team.
Yeah, totally. One thing for the co-caster, and shows a little bit of my greenness here as I accidentally clicked on a tower and I don't know how to make it go away. Do you know the key command?
I do not.
There you go. There's the first request out the chat. Offlane is a government conspiracy. Whereabouts wanted to see the offlane on the map. Yeah, we have our couple soul laners in the audience. A lot of damage going out on the Lucio, and he ends up going down from the Orphea damage. Makes a lot of sense there. They're trying for that slow, and I'd say that the damage pretty early is strong for the side of Wholesome Halfwits. Also, Johanna is a character that, you know, she provides some CC. Oh, the sleep goes out on the Johanna along with the stun. I imagine she's just going to walk away, even having popped her Unstoppable a little bit earlier. Most people, especially Murden with the leap, if he chooses to engage that hard, is going to, you know, have a good time just jumping past her, and she's not going to do a lot to be able to peel him off of their backline. Follow rotating down and getting that camp right away as we see this Haka and Diva kind of trading off in this bottom lane.
Yeah, we're actually seeing the AA build out of Vala again. Paco has been a big fan of that in the previous series, so it'll be interesting to see if you can find value, as Murden can be a real thorn in your side, slowing your attack speed, jumping on you, and throwing that hammer in your face.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. All right, so let's look at some talent pickups for this first. We see Laws of Hope on the Johanna. That's pretty expected to me. I don't think the double blinds is going to get as much value here. 1-1-E. Yep, that'll do it. Thank you very much to the Crushinator. Absolutely crushing it with the direction from chat. Also, I gave Whereabouts his view of the offlane, so he should be satiated for at least another, 2 games before I have to show the offlane again.
Yeah, he's the worst, isn't he?
Just kidding. Just kidding. All right, so we see Laws of Hope. We actually see auto attack build from Vala, which I think is probably her, maybe one of her least picked builds. It's not her safest build. I'd say that's W most of the time. However, it is really great consistent damage, and you kind of get that risk reward of having those Gambit talents that, will force her to lose a little bit of attack speed if she ends up getting picked.
Another root goes out.
Yeah, we see this like just common checking the bush. Malavio a little bit low on mana, doesn't really want to look for an engage here. That's going to be one of Malfurion's big kind of drawbacks, is the fact that pretty mana hungry unless you spec into some mana talents a little bit later in the game. Looking for turn in bottom. TKS tanks to just kind of keeping an eye on it, while also grabbing that bot soak when it's up. Not much going on down there. I don't think there's like a clear winner. Neither one should be able to get the other down. Jump in, and a little bit of a dive coming out from the Muradin along with the root. That's not quite enough. The blind goes out and a stun on the Vala, but she's just going to back right up. They are going to get low a little bit quicker. I think Lucio is going to need a little bit more, a few more talent pickups before we see a lot of value in those sustained fights, the same way you'll get it from Malfurion in a team fight. Lots of damage coming out from the Orphea. She's kind of getting in place. KTS Tanksta rotates up for a gank. He misses the tongue, but we have the Lunara kind of in the off lane, and I wonder if that's going to stay that way for a while. Bit of a trade-off on the two teams for the turn-in. They both have turn-in available to them. However, with only, they both have talent tiers with level 7. Very low from the... Oh, and the Vault ends up going down with just enough damage from the Lunara over time to really secure that kill.
Yeah, that should probably secure the turn-in for the Halfwits.
Yep. It's an interesting. There are a couple strategies on this map where you can move around and try to get some higher level plays if you can pull it off, and say, hey, we want to hold turn in until we're a little bit closer. Ends up going over to Wholesome Halfwits in the bottom lane as they're able to secure turn in right as Lucio is trying to do it in the top lane for PRO. What I was saying is if you can hold it a little bit later and you can get the turn in as you're transitioning over to talent tier like level 10s and you're getting your ultimates, that can be a huge value add versus getting it right now, which probably means that it's going to be cleared and you're looking at second turn in right when there is that that talent tier 10 advantage. Potentially devoting 2 resources and using D.Va's mech to kind of clear this bottom lane. However, mid pressure is kind of being prioritized by the Halfwits over top lane. They have rotated Lunara up. What do you think about their lanes here as well as the defense?
On the side of the Halfwits, I liked how Lunara was able to grab that siege camp and they delayed the turn-in, so it created some pressure that was unavoidable. They had to divert the bomb down. They're able to actually get the most pressure in the most valuable lane, the boss lane, which is top.
Yeah, I'd say getting a wall and then getting at least half of this keep, which they are getting. A little bit of fort damage coming out on the Murden. He's going to back up as his armor gets reduced. I'd say that's a really successful first turn-in, especially with wall bot and, you know, some good damage on mid. I think it's really going to, and they were able to pick up talent tier 10 right as that went down. So if they had, I don't think they would have been able to, but if they'd been able to delay turn-in a little bit longer, then they would have probably taken that fort. However, they're not set up for another turn-in. They do not have the gems, and Phoenix Rising Onyx definitely does, and they're going to be looking for this. So I think it's going to kind of depend on how well Wholesome Halfwits can split between both of these objectives and kind of defend this turn-in from happening. Let's zoom out a little bit here. We see the Bruiser camp coming out for the second time for PRO, and the first time is starting to be capped from Wholesome Halfwits. With this camp getting done early, they're 2 damage on the blue team's Bruisers. I think this is going to be free turn-in.
Yeah, it should be. Looks like Murden was getting top, and they should be able to sneak this in, barring some heroics.
A little bit of a teleport just in time. Dahaka tries to go up and get that cap, but he's just CC chained to death and not able to execute on his adaptation. Oh, shield goes out as well from Johanna, and that is another kill onto the Orphea. Once again, just not able to do the burst damage, but Lunara is able to pick up a return kill on the Vala as she kind of steps up aggressively for those kills and then, you know, takes a little bit too much sustained damage and suffers for it. Big push with this camp and spell armor mid. It's a big benefit to them being pushed, but with all that damage over time, that was destined to go away. D.Va trying to push out this top lane to kind of mirror the value that Wholesome Halfwits got in the beginning. But I'm not sure that's going to be as successful, although it kind of depends on this engaged mid. A little bit of a jump and dive in from Murden. The root goes down on the Johanna. She ends up cleansing it, and the Lucio is just going to skate away. All right, Murden goes in, ends up getting a stun on Johanna. She's too high on health, though. Sleep goes out on the Lucio. He ends up taking a lot of damages, but he's right at the wall and able to just boop himself right along. All right, looking at ultimates for the side of Wholesome Halfwits, we have Avatar on the Murden. We have Thornwood Vine, which is an interesting choice. We'll talk about that in a minute. From the Lunara, we have Adaptation from the Dahaka, Crushing Draws from the Orphea, and then finally Twilight Dream from the Malfurion. As we go into another fight, and immediately goes in on the Murden. He gets CC'd to death and ends up dying right away. Follow-up stun on the Tassadar, and that CC just ends up in him blowing up as well. Ends up going as a trade. I'd say when you're down your tank, though, this is in favor of PRO for the time being, as both heals and tank, and with a Vala behind it is enough to, I think, make the blue team back up here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really impressed right now from Neutrons on this Orphea subbing in. It's a hard position to be in, and he has been nailing some of these combos.
Yeah, and I mean, to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't really want to be playing Orphea into PRO right now. I think once that shield goes out from Johanna and you're already kind of an aggressive mage, ooh, the stun just misses on the Johanna, allowing her to finalize her turn-in and get that second turn-in in a row for PRO, followed by the great wall from Tassadar, ending up in the Neutron's Orphea kill. Kind of once again suffering from the fact that it's a very melee mage who has to be close. Shield goes out, ends up stunning 3 people. Murden tries to get away. He ends up jumping out. A lot of damage going out on the Lunar from the Tassadar. And that's going to be a little bit of a backup and reset. I think the resets might suffer over time, just because that the Malfurion can't really generate those heals super consistently. Can place the heal on a character, but it takes him a while, it takes him a lot of time for it to catch back up. Stun goes out on the Johanna. Lots of damage on the Dahaka. He's going to using Burrow and going to walk away, maybe pop his heal as well. Lots of damage going out. Probably that's probably all of that she wrote for mid.
Great job.
Yeah, great baiting out the sound barrier there. And I actually think sound barrier was the right choice for Lucio in this case, with some of the flaws I mentioned with the the potential for high five not to get as much value as you'd like.
Absolutely, and PRO has done a great job of getting picks as their web weavers come down, and it's really led to a lot of maximization of this siege damage that they're able to generate, because it spreads them thin, and the Hawk is in danger.
Tries to dig out, it's just not quite enough. The 4-man actually rotates in to try to get a return kill. They do end up getting the return kill on the D.Va, and now it's an even 4v4. Down both bruisers. A lot of damage going out on the Orpheus. She's going to have to end up backing up as we see this kind of sort of dual glass cannons going out. It seems like these team fights are just very volatile, and someone's dying from both sides almost every single time. Great stun from the Muradin onto the Lucio, followed up by the Sleet Root on Malaviel's excellent play of Malfurion, just enough to blow him up. I think that was a lot of gems too.
Looked like it, and we saw Twilight Dream coming out there. What are your thoughts into this composition as opposed to Tranquility?
So Tranquility is, it's a great ultimate. It gives that heal, which just adds to Malfurion's kit, especially if you're feeling a little bit weak to burst. It also gives the armor, which could help with this blow up that PRO has been very successful at landing. I think Twilight Dream, though, really matches Malaviel's playstyle, which is really targeted roots, setting up those sleeps, following up the tank CC, and then stepping forward just far enough to get the silence value as well. I think if Malaviel's able to not get targeted by the shield from Johanna, and then rotate into a little bit more aggressive positioning into the team, he'll probably get a lot of value out of that ult. But it's kind of a risky scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Going over PRO's ults, it's a little bit late, but we do see Archon picked up. We've already talked about Sound Barrier and Shield. I think that the Rain of Vengeance is also a good idea for extra CC as you try to disengage yourself from the dive on Wholesome Halfwits. Pretty good push going in here top, and I'd say there's pretty good wave clear between Tassadar and D.Va. Tassadar will end up popping his Archon. This might be mid forward as well. I think it definitely will be as they rotate really aggressively. Oh, Shield ends up going out, just missing the Malfurion, but he is being targeted by the fort and ends up going down with just too much damage. Muradin also very low as he goes out. Rain of Vengeance goes out and hits the Orpheus. She tries to back out, but it's not enough. The team's so low, and the Orpheus goes down along with Malfurion. Dahaka is really far out as well, ends up getting stunned. Pops the heal. It's a really big one. A little bit of movement speed from the bushes, and the stun comes out from the Muradin. Is it just enough? The wall just misses, and they sidestep the line of damage from the Tassadar, just escaping. I think that could have gone much worse than it did for Wholesome Halfwits.
Huge pickup, though, getting them back in the game, and they're turning it into a boss. As they don't have turn-in, I think this is a major turning point and could get them back into the swing of things.
Yeah, I think, once again, Whereabouts in chat saying this game is really back and forth. I agree. I think these teams drafted very evenly. They both have pretty clear plans they need to execute, combos they're trying to pull off. Trying to get turned in here. Muradin's going for it. Honestly, the delay took a little longer than I was expecting. I was like, is he just going to get 19 gems in? They decide to back up. I don't see them pushing with the boss. That's, I was a little bit surprised by that. The more I think about it, though, with the talent tiers being on the same level, I do like their idea to just push mid, clear it out so it doesn't take any keep damage, and then probably get this fort down to balance out the structures.
Yeah, it's probably not going to get much more than keep wall. And with or without them, I don't think it would have gotten keep, so that definitely helps them gain more map vision, map pressure equals out, and they're able to actually convert that into another camp, take bottom.
Yeah, yep. With Vala down there taking that camp, we definitely only want to see Poke coming out from PRO mid until they're able to rejoin his 5. I think we're at a place right now where this is so incredibly even. Dead even on structures, almost dead even on soak, with just PRO being just a little bit ahead. Excellent poke coming out from both teams with the Thornwood Vines. Tongue ends up going out stunning the Diva. However, she has Explosion, and she's just going to end up walking away. There's not quite enough follow-up there to capitalize on that. Some stuns going off, trading on each team. However, with PRO getting that camp bottom, that is pushing in the keep. So they're really just looking to delay these turn-ins and not really fight on an engage, I would say. Just let bottom push out and take as much value as it can before they defend it.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see Dahaka being the one clearing that camp with his global, because they are able to turn in right now and get web weavers on the side of PRO.
Yeah, I agree. Seeing Dahaka gives you a little bit more threat in defending, that you can always throw him back in the fight and make the fight even or overbalanced in your favor. So probably would have been a better choice there for the clear. However, with these lanes pushed up really far, PRO is in a great position to get a ton of value here.
Yep, let's see if they can get another quick pick at the start of this. That would lead to big things. I'm interested to see which lane they prioritize, as they're kind of splitting between mid and top.
I like the idea to pick up either top or bottom lane. Top's obviously the lane you typically push out here, because it is the win condition lane with boss threat at any time. This allows you to push the lane and then have, you know, the opposite lane, which is bottom in this case, provide, you know, the second most amount of pressure. We see Archon being pushed here. We still have Diva Explosion up if they feel like they need it to, you know, get a bit of a clear, maybe to secure the rest of the fort, the keep. But that's not going to be needed, as the keep ends up going down, you know, pretty cleanly without much of an engage.
We said we would talk about it, but we haven't. Thornwood Vine. What do you think?
You know what? If the Lunara was in a place where she felt threatened, then obviously leaping, you know, having the leap is fantastic, because it gives you the unstoppable, it gives you that flexibility, gives you the escape, makes you much less gankable. However, Crooked Smile has been using it really well here as a poking defense tactic. So just kind of poking these objective turn-ins, keeping the pressure on, pairing it with Wisp to kind of just get that sustained safe delay. I think using it to great effect. It's also definitely a better wave clear talent, so the Orphea is not the best wave clear mage in the game, so Lunara is kind of taking that full burden as you see her use those things on this camp mid, for an example.
It applies poison stacks, right?
Yep, it does. Yep.
So yeah, I think I've seen people use it, especially with choking pollen.
Yep, yep. And that was picked up. The choking pollen along with the intensifying toxin at 20. So Lunara, I'd say, looking at level 20 power spikes, Lunara definitely has a great damage boost. Orphea does well if it's, you know, executed really well at 20. We see the Astral Communion from Malfurion, so he's got that teleport followed by the explosion. Great pull on the Vala is just enough. The explosion does get on the Diva, lots of damage. They're trying to kill her before she's able to get back in her mech. They end up getting the kill, and despite the sound barrier, that's not enough to save the whole team. And that pickup right as these web weavers are pushing could end up in a keep. But with this keep pretty healthy, lots of damage goes out on the Tassadar, and just it's just so much. Orphea is being targeted. She has to back up quite a bit, and the Muradin is just going to reset his health a little bit with his trait. So that is definitely going to be top keep in favor of Wholesome Halfwits. Do they push core?
Looks like it.
Looking like they do, yep. Do they end the game here is the question. Lots of good damage coming up from on the Muradin.
Bottom lane's crashing now.
Bottom lane's crashing as well. This might be just enough. We got another sound barrier coming out from the Lucio. 60%. Lucio's going to go down. Oh my gosh, so much damage from the Lunara. I do think this is going to be game one going in favor of Wholesome Halfwits. Shield comes out to no avail. They do get the Orphea kill. It's so close, but that's just enough. Vala goes down. GG's being called. That is game one of this best of 5 series going over to Wholesome Halfwits in just a really neck and neck close game for game one.
Yeah, that was crazy. Really back and forth. It looked like PRO sacked defending Turnin to actually take that bruiser camp to start all of that off. I think, with the game being this close, sometimes small margins of error like that can turn it. And to Wholesome Halfwit's credit, they took that small gap and ran it down.
Yeah, honestly, I think it all came down to that top fight for top keep when they ended up getting the pick on the Diva and then followed up with just, barely getting that pick on the Tassadar as well. And those two things, happening in succession were enough to kind of, allow them to give them the space to go in and finish off the core. An interesting thing here is I probably would have liked to see a little bit safer play on that top keep from PRO. Saying, okay, it's fine if the keep goes down. Let them engage a little bit harder under our keep before we step forward to engage them, force them to take some damage. But, overall, it was just it seemed like a toss-up on who was going to die in any of those fights because, it was always an explosion of some hero or another because it was so volatile. And looking at the kills count at the end of the game, 9 kills for Wholesome Halfwits to PRO's 8 kills. So it was neck and neck the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. The tanks on Halfwits actually, or the front line rather, did a great job picking up that Vala who is out of position, and that kind of kicked everything off. So hats off to them. Lunara pumping out a crap ton of damage, and Orphea has landed some massive combos.
Yeah.
Especially with her ult this game, which secured 3 kills.
Yeah, totally agree. With the Vala getting picked several times, but most of the time not toward later in the game. Got some good value out of her AA build on the Muradin, but just ended up being outscaled by that Lunara, who was able to get away with that great poke damage, pairing it with Thornwood Vines, and then finally hitting 20 and just intensifying that damage that much more with intensifying Toxin and getting all that extra poison dot. Which to be fair, Lucio is decent against poison damage, but it takes him time to heal that up, especially, with this build that is around kind of the burst healing with Rejuvenescencia. Always takes me by surprise a little bit. Getting that percentage healing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Lunara does surprising amounts of burst now with choking pollen.
Yeah,
it's not always been the case, and it looks like the lobby is up, and we're headed to Volskaya Foundry.
All right, Volskaya Foundry for game number 2. Let's see, get this updated here. I'm not sure who ended up picking this.
Just gonna ask the teams now. Looks like it was Wholesome Halfwits.
Wholesome Halfwits getting map pick again. That means that Phoenix Rising Onyx opted for first pick here again. That makes sense. All right, so game number 2, Volskaya Foundry. So Wholesome Halfwits picked game 1. They really wanted to focus on a team fight comp. They obviously you were able to execute it just that much better. Just a bit better in game number 1. They're choosing to go to Volskaya Foundry, which is another team fight heavy map. You're fighting for those capture points. You're trying to get the protector. There is a degree of macro to this map, though. It is larger as maps go than Tomb of the Spider Queen. And so you could see some more, interesting counterplay and maybe some different strategies around, taking team fights that, that PRO want, that favors them, and then pushing really aggressively as well if that's, what they choose to opt into.
Yeah, both teams actually have a 100% win rate on this map over 3 games. So somebody's O has got to go, and
That will
I'm not
not
sure
hold.
who it. And we will know. Yeah,
Yep. Finally, the clash on Volsky Foundry we've all been waiting for.
yeah. Everyone has been waiting.
Everyone's just waiting for this.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
That's right.
Personally.
That's right. All right, so I'm going to call out that we're ready anytime. Perfect. And here we go, jumping into game number 2, best of 5, one map, the first of the series, going over to Wholesome and Halfwits, and it being completely neck and neck. And I would say game 1 has given me, you know, zero feeling around who's going to win each of the next games. I feel like this could be literally anyone's match at any point.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see if PRO shifts to more of the macro focus that we talked about at the outset, with some delays on the protector and getting some value. Also, a very good Deathwing map.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I'd be interested to see if Lewd Panda gets his hand on that.
Yeah, we did see it, you know, being banned out game 1. That did hit mid bans before that went out, so I don't know. If it's picked up before mid ban, then you have a little bit more chance to counter it. But you know, I think if you're confident with it, you're confident with it. You know, so far, exact same bans coming out game 2 as game 1.
Yeah, and with Tychus and the Leo gone, those are considered, some pretty solid Deathwing counters.
Yep.
So it wouldn't surprise me. We have seen the Orphea from Neutrons, another classic counter, and it looks like they're on the same wavelength, and there he goes.
They're like, nope, no Deathwing for you. We see you, and we raise you, no Deathwing. That's great. Johanna coming out first again, second time in a row that Phoenix Rising Onyx has just opted for the punching bag that is Johanna, to just say, hey, this is consistent. It's great. A lot of flexibility. Let's draft it first in game number 2.
Yeah, it's a contested hero between the teams. Doesn't surprise me. Will be interesting to see the response, and it looks like a Noob and Li Ming.
Yeah, to me that signals a lot of single target blow up. You have the Anubarak dive coming out, followed, which the CC on the tunnel, CC on the spikes, and then followed with Li Ming damage as well. Big single target vibes coming out of Wholesome Halfwits, followed up by the Brightwing and the Vala. I don't know that Brightwing is the healer I would have gone for against a single target dive comp, which I think is what Wholesome Halfwits is signaling. A lot of times you want something that can provide a more consistent cleanse, that can provide more consistent single target burst healing. She does have the teleport, but it takes a little bit of a charge to come up. Junkrat ban coming out, which I think is pretty solid. That is a great disruption to, I think, the dive that Wholesome Halfwits is trying to achieve.
Yeah, the spell armor's nice. It's really going to come down to, is she able to get that TP off before the target dies? And with a percent heal, Vala's not the best pairing, though the blink heal does, do consistent healing on the Vala, but we see an Anaban.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Nano Boost, that's always scary on Li Ming. Maybe it's a bit of a target ban as well. Zarya coming out and the Diva, so this time it's Wholesome Halfwit's chance to play Diva. And no Deathwing skins this time. And we have Zarya as well. Zarya is great. I think she's risen in the meta. I don't know that there's no sustain right now on the side of Wholesome Halfwits other than Zarya, and I don't know if Zarya is enough to provide that that danger and that threat to Johanna as a main tank. So I'm intrigued by this draft so far.
Fury's coming out, and Kael'thas with heavy frontline. Kael'thas is going to get a lot of value with his Q, Flame Strike and his Living Bombs as well. Those do act as pretty good generators for Zarya, but I think it's a solid pick, as is Imperious. If he can get a good stab off, he can shish kebab all three members, and with Vala and Kael'thas, they're able to finish that off.
Okay, so with the final pickup being Deckard, I'm starting to see some trends kind of elevate here as we see the finalization of both drafts going into this game number 2. Any swaps? No, I think everyone picked what they wanted to pick.
Boo.
No crazy stylized swaps. No next level mind games. All right. Going into this game, I really believe that Phoenix Rising Onyx actually like switched their draft around in my mind a little bit in a way that I really like. So I think what they've done here is they decided that, okay, Anubarak's going to be potentially diving aggressively. Let's wait till he dives and then turn and damage the Anubarak as much as we can. And with a pretty great CC chain, I think they're going to be able to get away with it. And we'll just have to kind of see how that plays out. We'll head back to that conversation, but first, going into game number 2, on the blue side, Wholesome Halfwits, we have Dr. C Jelly playing Anubarak, we have Crooked Smile playing the Zarya, Malavial playing the Deckard, TKS, Tanksta playing the Diva, and finally, Neutrons playing the Li Ming.
And on the red team, we have Northern Touch on Johanna, Food Panda on Imperious, Paco's Taco on Vala, great name, and US Maps on KT, and Delilah on Brightwing.
Awesome. All right, so how do you feel about these drafts kind of going into the beginning of the year? Who do you think baseline wins, initial fights? Are there any like surprising, power spikes in the game that we should watch out for?
Yeah, I think Cocoon's actually going to be huge for Wholesome Halfwits. If they're able to take that Joe out of the fight, they have enough CC. And looking at that CC, Imperious almost goes down, and so does the noob.
Yeah, we saw a ton of damage go out on a noob following that dive. And to be fair, like you mentioned, Imperious also got very low, but I think that's what we want to watch out for. A lot of damage going out on the Anubarak. He keeps stepping forward. He's willing to make the dive. He ends up using the E on the Brightwing. She's trying to get out, but he is incredibly low, and the damage comes out from the Kael'thas as well as the Vala, and it's not enough to secure the kill. Who survives this fight? Is it going to be the dive or the counter dive? We'll see. A lot of damage going out on the Johanna, and it's just enough with the Li being able to secure the kill.
Yeah, the Zarya is really pumping out some damage. She went Feel the Heat at level 1, so that's going to make her damage a bit more scary, especially when her attack size increases. I think that's an interesting pickup. With the front line of PRO going to be kind of in your face, I think it makes sense. And it looks like the sustain, healing, and shielding is going to play a big role in who comes out on top in these fights.
Yeah, I would say that Phoenix Rising Onyx definitely picked a higher, damage output team with, rather than Wholesome Halfwits. I think that may not be true over time, but I think it depends on, is the shield going to be enough when it matters so that Wholesome Halfwits can secure the kill they're looking for before we see PRO being able to stabilize and then counter-engage in a really effective way. Root comes out as a bit of a zoning. I think that's a great tool that's being used, but we're just going to kind of see them back off as it kind of back and forth rotate between mid and top. Imperious potentially getting ganked here as he comes up for the soak. The dive ends up not going out though, so he's just going to walk away.
Prepare to begin field test.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I'm wondering if Northern Touch is going to go shield for that lockdown on the front line, or if he's going to go into Falling Sword. These games tend to go late on Volskaya. Joe's level 20 Falling Sword is busted for sure, and with the amount of CC, I'm not sure Brightwing, with her long cleanses, is going to be able to keep up. So something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, dive out comes from the Anubarak as he It's put in a little bit of a bad position, but as long as he's got a Z up, he's got that great disengage. You know, one thing I'm worried about as they both capture their camps, you know, and they're both getting close to 7 about the same time. I don't think Wholesome Halfwits has the Protector burn that PRO does. So I think that could be a big problem if they end up losing a few Protectors. I don't know that they're going to be able to defend it in a way nearly as effectively as PRO can with their comp.
Yeah, especially late game. That's when they actually start doing work. Early, they're pretty flimsy.
Yeah.
But that's a great point to call out, as they really have kind of intermittent damage unless they can stand in front of you and whack you.
Yeah, I think so much coming out. We do see the bomb going out, kind of zoning, pushing the team back as they try to escape down. Johanna ends up being in position. Vala just getting out of the route. Both turrets coming out, but it ends up being the Anub who goes down first. The shields just isn't quite enough, and it's followed by the Zarya as well. Once the shields are down, she just has to kind of back away because her card has been played. That's going to be first, you know, the capture on that objective going back over to PRO as they try to get those percentage points back that Wholesome Halfwits were able to pick up. And then also pick up another turret, getting ready for the fight that will come out of their 100% cap.
Yeah, we're seeing Q build come out from the Li Ming. So going for that big one shot, following up the Anub.
Yep.
High risk, high reward in terms of your damage actually landing.
Yep.
But it should be interesting. And Vala doing a good job backing. If she can keep herself alive, I think she's going to be a real threat come late game.
Thank you, Whereabouts, for calling out that I was still on the draft overlay. I pressed the wrong button going into this, and that doesn't work. Great dive coming in, stun coming out from the Imperious. That's just kind of get cleared, though, as they walk away. However, both shields are now out. There's a lot of damage ready to go from the Zarya as she looks ready to engage. Vala getting pretty low. Not sure if the heal or the teleport. I'm pretty sure the teleport's already come out. Let's see. I think that's just going to be first objective going over to Wholesome Halfwits as they kind of are able to push PRO off this first point.
Yeah, they did a good job of bullying themselves back onto the point. Zarya and Ming actually in the Protector, so there's not going to be a lot of damage coming out from the Anub or the Deckard, but they should stay alive.
Yeah, they are the safest targets probably to keep there. We're seeing a little bit of pressure go out on mid as the Protector rotates top, ends up opting to clear the lane, which probably gives PRO a bit of time to compensate. I think with this Vala, who is an AA build Vala, they're going to have pretty good clear. They probably will walk away with the well, but I don't believe anything more than that. Johanna taking a lot of damage. It's going to force the teleport out from Brightwing to get healed back up. Only a third left on this Protector. They finally get the well as they've rotated all 5 in the lane and still have Imperious for PRO in mid lane.
Yeah, it looks like Vala was able to get about 60 stacks on this Protector, so not the worst thing in the world to lose that one early.
To already be at 140 stacks is incredibly strong for AA build Vala. One of the the downsides to that talent, though, and despite how incredibly strong is not infinitely stacking. And as you mentioned, these maps do go late, so I think we probably could have seen a like maybe a Q build or something like that, or a W build that would have scaled really hard late game. But I think she'll probably get a lot of AA value as well in terms of burning this this new rack. Dive comes out on the Kel'Thas, he ends up walking away, and the Gravity Lapse is not going to get any value. Cocoon goes out on the Brightwing, as so much CC's coming from the Deckard, including the Stay a While and Listen. Bunny Hop coming out from Diva as she ends up popping her bomb, but is she going to die? And the bomb, oh, it's like deja vu from game 1. TKS Tanksta is able to, not quite able to survive. They re-engage on this point. So low, Anub'arak tries to get the stun and for the revenge kill, ends up getting it, but it's going to be Zarya going down as well, and also Li Ming, so that will end up being a quad kill for Phoenix Rising Onyx.
Yeah, that was a great masterclass on how to press your advantage. They got the pick on Diva as the Worth comes out. And they healed up a little bit, and great play from Panda, flanking, getting the stab, and converting that into some kills.
Yeah, they've basically done as much as the Protector now at this point with that fight. They've taken that top well, they've balanced it so that neither team has better sustain going into the second objective fight that will be in top lane. And they've been able to push mid a little bit and get ready for that, you know, to put some pressure there. They've almost balanced that lane as well with one tower being about to go down.
And we see a camp invade coming out as well.
Yep. With 13 talent tiers, they're really just looking to press that advantage. Wholesome Halfwits playing a little bit more passive with that going out maybe a little bit too far on the... Oh, he's going to try to run away. Teleport goes out. I think he will end up backing away as the rest of the team rotates just in time. They end up dropping the turret, though. Gravity Lapse comes out from Zarya. Rain of Vengeance from Vala. Stay a while and listen. Another return dive. Here comes the Johanna stun, not for a ton of value, but they're going to clear the cocoon as well, and that's just going to be a bunch of ults used from everyone. I think they all just agreed to use their ults, then to walk away, call that fair game, call it even, call it a day.
Yeah, and look.
Go ahead. No, you go.
I was going to say, Imperius actually kept his being one of the longer cooldowns and the one that's going to help him stay alive. So
yeah,
I think that's probably a little bit of an advantage to PRO, but we see him actually soaking the bot lane as they're getting the camp out.
Yeah, Death to Fire in chat calling out, nice kebabs, makes me hungry. Yeah, Imperius will spear you some shish kebabs any day. He is, that is his speciality. I think that was overall a win for PRO. Although we're not going to see a team fight before all these ultimates come out again. As they're moving in, there is shorter cooldowns on the side of PRO than the ultimate timers. Ooh, KT and Brightwing both getting hit in the gravity lapse. The Unstoppable comes out from the Johanna as they try to walk away. The bunny hop is going to cause a slow, followed by the Stay a While and Listen, resulting in a KT kill, but the Nubarak is going to go down as well. Diva trying her best to walk away. She ends up going down also, followed by the Zarya, who just can't walk away once she's engaged. And some really low people here trying to get away. Decker's trying his best, but it's just too much. Gets a great root along with some damage from the fort, but the Ming's just not in a place where they can pop up and get that extra damage. Quad kill going over to Phoenix Rising Onyx for the second time this game.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing here is the lack of sustained damage. So
yeah,
Wholesome Halfwits, when they land their combos, someone dies. If PRO is able to stay even, they turn the fights almost every time, as the Vala just keeps chunking people, and she's actually done a great job staying safe. And the frontline's done a good job of making her not an easy target. So great job so far from PRO.
Yeah, I think Paco's Taco, excuse me, is playing very well. They know that they shouldn't be the engaged target. They shouldn't be the one who is in a place where a Nubarak can dive on them, and then is in a position to pump the damage into the Nubarak when the Nubarak does dive. A Nubarak's at his most vulnerable once he's used that burrow, and the stun goes out. It has really no mobility at that point, so that's when Nubarak's at his weakest, and I think that's why we see those return kills like we talked about at the beginning of the game when we were analyzing the draft coming out so frequently. And now we're at the point where the second thing we talked about kind of early in the game is happening. I'm not sure that they're able to burn this Protector very well at all. Only the damage from the Li Ming being enough to actually knock it down some.
Yeah, especially with Zarya not here, that sustained damage from Diva is, it's something, but it's not a ton. But here comes a grab lapse.
Reverse kill, a grab lapse. Nubarak dive. It's not quite enough. Nubarak's very low. Stun comes out. He's going to get reduced damage, and he's going to walk away. So much damage from the Kel'Thas. Living Bomb, trying not to spread it. Ends up spreading it to the Li Ming. That'll probably be enough to kill the Li Ming. Oh, you hate to see that. Li Ming goes down to the Living Bomb. Zarya, excuse me, so low, ends up going down as well. I think people, assume Zarya, hey, is going to provide us a lot more staying power. It's true that she does. However, if that shield goes down, despite the amount of damage it gives her, it's just she becomes incredibly weak. She has to back away. If you're not winning the fight by the time the shield goes away, you are in a bad spot and you have to back away immediately. And she really has no mobility, so that is hard to watch when that scenario plays out.
Yeah, she went and teched into Spell Barrier, trying to get some spell armor for exactly those situations, but it's, as you said, it's tough. It's tough to try and do sustained damage and not die on her, as this front line is able to kind of chunk into her. And it looks like they're converting that again into a couple more camps.
That's right. Yeah, kill camp being picked up. Positioning here from Wholesome. Halfwits, they're down, just, at 2 levels right now. They know that, once PRO reaches 20, they're going to have a really hard time, or at least a long wait in trying to be on the same talent tier again. So I think they feel like this is their moment to try to make one last team fight before the 3rd objective and try to get some benefit out of this and stabilize a little bit. Potential dive going out on the lots of, we see 2 ults coming out so far. Stay a while, Listen, Brightwing and Imperious both here. They switch to the Brightwing target, but she's able to blink heal out, and Johanna is able to just teleport or to just rotate down at this point. Phoenix from the Kael'thas, once again damage on the Li Ming. Just Kael'thas with these living bombs able to constantly provide value, and Ming once again gets hit by the 2nd living bomb pass as they're just putting that consistent damage on her.
Sharing is caring after all, but it's especially easy to do when you have that many frontline heroes. So I think Kael'thas, as we kind of alluded to at the start, is getting a ton of value, and on top of that, he teched into the Living Bomb build, so that makes it even easier.
And to the extent that he even went Master of Flames at 20, so that's going to provide the infinite bounce, which, you probably won't get a ton of value from that every single time with the, it bouncing back and forth and back and forth. But if it happens just one time, that could be enough to really punish the entire team. However, normally you see the flamethrower coming out, that really far range on the Q, that paired with the 16 what, applies a living bomb if being hit by Flame Strike. That's a popular choice as well and allows him to position a little bit more safely. But, I think the aggression here and understanding that everyone's trying to group a little bit for these kills on these burst targets, it's probably a good call going the living bomb build.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how the 20s fights play out if we get there, because Zarya gets a great one if she techs into the Grav Surge at 20.
Yep.
A noob with Rewind is also very strong. Deckard at 20 is extremely strong, so there are some game-changing ultimates that could swing this back in the favor if they're able to pull it off. Most of those are negated by the Joe, so I think I'd love to see the Cocoon come out on her to start these fights, as they are kind of diving her and the Imperious in most of these fights, so that would be something to look at.
I agree. We don't end up seeing the upgrade to Angelic Armaments coming out from Imperious. That is an AoE shield, which gives a little bit more survivability, but with how one-sided these fights are, I don't think that PRO feels like they need it. They do get the ultimate from Joe upgrade. That is game-changing. The cooldown reduction, the heal, the unstoppable damage, it just does everything at 20. And it does everything a little bit too well. They've also decided to just, hey, we don't care about bottom right now. We'll fight for that a little bit later. It's good at 63%. We don't want to split. We don't want to give Wholesome Halfwits a chance to give us a pick on just one person. We're going to give everyone an item, except for Vala. Poor Vala's left out. And then we're going to make this fight as one-sided as possible. They try to rotate the Diva aggressively. She ends up using her Unstoppable and just dodges the stun on Imperious as everyone tries to rotate away. And not let anyone fight before they're on the same talent tier.
It's interesting they've done this, though. I think I would have maybe looked for that and kept Brightwing on the point, because Wholesome Halfwits have hit that 20 spike, and now this is kind of anyone's game. If you want to flip a coin, take a level 20 fight, and see what you can do with it, they now have that ability.
Yep. Do we see the early cocoon come out? See a shield come out very early from the Zarya. Stun comes out along with the bomb from D.Va. Graviton Surge hits the Johanna, and she gets silenced, and that's enough to just explode her. However, there's so much damage coming out on the Lee Ming from the Flame Strike. She's going to go down as well. Anubrak's trying to get away so low. He's at 45. He tries to get the reverse stun, but he ends up going down. But that's Kel'Thas and Vala as well. Imperius gets the stun, does not want to let the damage go on the Brightwing, and that is an advantage. A triple kill versus a double kill in favor of Wholesome Halfwits, who is going to take this third objective and throw the game back into a toss-up territory as we look for an extended game 2.
Yep, you wanted a game 5? It looks so back and forth, it wouldn't surprise me.
It would not surprise me to have a 5-game series tonight. I completely agree. One thing I will say, looking at these level 20s, I think the silence is a huge swing, as we just saw for that fight, stopping the Johanna from even clicking her ultimate ability with the silence. I think that's a huge swing. I think another direction it could have gone is Zarya has basically a she uses her ultimate, but Imperius is just going to dodge. He ends up moving up. The Brightwing's going to teleport in and provide that sustained healing. I was saying that the Zarya has a rewind ability as well. It allows her to reset the cooldown of her personal shield and her ally shield. In these sustained fights, that might have found some value, but I think the damage and the silence, these tiered silences that Wholesome Halfwits might be just enough to finish this game off.
Yeah, absolutely. If she can't get Falling Sword off, it's not so busted.
Whoa, so much damage coming on the Anubarak. We are going to see the Johanna dive in really hard. This Vala's trying to step around. They're trying to dive past the Protector. Kel'Thas incredibly low. Oh, almost gets killed by the Q on the Protector. That big damage coming out. Johanna, I think, has used every ability. She ends up getting silenced, and that's going to be her going down as well. We see the ultimate coming out from Imperius, Angelic Armaments being used. That's a lot of his sustainability and survivability if he needs it. Kind of losing that oh shit button a little bit. Dive from the Anubarak. Was that too far? He ends up going down incredibly bursted. That was just so much. Vala is trying to push this with an extremely low Zarya having to back away. With her level 20, she gets incredible range, and she's just able to poke from forever away, it feels like. A lot of damage going out on the D.Va. She's going to try to back away as well. Ends up using her ultimate and steps forward to kind of give some space for her team to back away. That ends up being a kill on the Johanna for Wholesome Halfwits, but a double kill against the Anubarak and the D.Va for Phoenix Rising Onyx.
What a game.
I know.
This is nuts. The pendulum is just almost swung off the point, I think, at this point. These games are so back and forth, and I just want to call out Lewd Panda is just doing God's work on this Imperius and landing these insane skewers to turn these fights.
Yeah, some really, really amazing follow-up CC on the Imperius against the Anubarak and anyone else who's far enough forward, oftentimes the Zarya as well. I like what they did here. They went for mid-fort, mid-keep. They could have positioned a top, but top was basically gone anyway, so they went for the one with full health, ended up taking 2 in the process. And then they're going to back up and just kind of paint the map red here as they, get this heal camp out. So with these team fights, I really think we keep saying toss-up. I think it really relies on if Zarya can hit her grav bomb, but really she has one target in mind for that grav bomb, I think, and I think that's the Johanna.
Yeah, and the Joe has been using the Falling Sword aggressively. I think I would love to see a switch in the team fight strategy to see her pull that out. It's got the Graviton Surge has a pretty big voice line as it's kind of going out, so hitting the D, using your R, and then saving any of your teammates who are caught in that, I think that's probably got to be the way going forward. We shall see.
Bit of a hold on this cap for the siege camp, saving it for when objective is pushing. PRO, if they're smart here, knows they don't have to fight, even though they're perfectly willing to by their position here. Spear comes out from the Imperious, not actually landing. They're saying, hey, we have a structure lead, and this is kind of how I would suggest playing it as well. You have a structure lead, you have consistent katas in mid and top lanes pushing just non-stop. They're able to delay these fights as long as they can and get as much value as possible. They honestly don't have to take an even team fight again. They can wait until these lanes push out, wait until Wholesome Halfwits is forced to counter those lanes, and then force the fight when they have an advantage. And with no globals for Wholesome Halfwits, they have really no choice but to kind of let them do that.
Yeah, they're, you know, far and away leading in kills, but they're showing they are not, you know, one-track minded. They don't want to just brawl. They're playing with their brains, and as I say that, here they come.
Nubarak sitting there waiting for it, ends up showing. He ends up diving away, just trying to get the heals again, which Deckard has been kind enough to stack up here. This infinite stack kind of going back and forth a little bit. Back and forth a couple times. Everyone's just kind of resetting. No one's used ults at this point. Spear comes out from the Imperious, charges on the Anubarak. The silence hits two people, but the follow-up CC from the Johanna, the cleanse, is just enough. Oh, he dives back in. Anubarak goes down. This living bomb is too much, along with the damage from the Vala. That is going to be a mega kill for PRO as they pack up their bags. They head towards mid, and this is going to be game number 2 in favor of PRO.
Yeah, Northern Touch played that exactly how I was hoping.
Yeah.
Holding it to rescue his teammates instead of being the aggressor. You already have Imperious to shish kebab folks, and that was a huge turning point. Despite her coming down in the Deckard silence, she kept 2 members alive, or he did. Yep. They did, and secured the win.
Right, they fell back to what they were doing successfully all game, and that was, you know, having the ability to counter-engage really well. They're saying, okay, granted, you're going to go for your single target burst. We believe we can survive that every time, or their ability to survive that only got better and better as the game went on, and then they immediately counter-engaged. They had the ability for Vala to sit really, really far back with those AAs once Vala reached 20, and kind of shred that Anubarak as the Anubarak dived. Then using the Johanna responsively with her ultimate cleanse, allowing, you know, if she was not caught in the gravity lapse by Zarya, then, you know, she was going to make sure the entire team walked away scot-free almost when that ult comes out.
Even healthier than before with some healing. That's and right. Unstoppable.
You know, the story of Game 2 with some really high damage coming out from Vala and Kael'thas, both leaps and bounds above of the highest damage for Wholesome Halfwits. Zarya sitting at 64, almost 65k, beat by 20k by the Kael'thas, who was sitting at around 84 to 85, who was beat by 20k by Vala, who is sitting just over 100. So really, really great series of events. I think, you know, the Imperious obviously gets a great call out, using and saving the stuns as a counter engage upon the dive. Johanna with those excellent cleanses, and then some really great damage coming out from both Kael'thas and Vala. Brightwing almost doubling the healing of Deckard. Also just, you know, proving that if the fights go long, then, you know, it's just going to keep, those teleports are going to keep coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think despite that late push by Wholesome Halfwits, it looked like PRO found a draft they were comfortable with. The D.Va didn't do as great with the Joe because it doesn't really have great lockdown. The Imperious really kind of rounded out the front line for them, and it looks like the lobby's up, and we are going to Alterac Pass.
All right. Alterac Pass for game number 3, as game number 2 goes over to Phoenix Rising Onyx. This is now officially a tied set with one Game 1 going over to Wholesome Halfwits, Game 2 going over to Phoenix Rising Onyx, and map number 3 being Alterac Pass. However, we may see a switch up in who picked what, so let's ask.
Looks like PRO took map.
Yep. Wholesome Halfwit says, okay, if we finally get to choose first pick or map, we're going to take first pick this time. PRO opting to head to one of the bigger maps. Now, if we go back to the map bans, Wholesome Halfwits banned out Dragonshire and Sky Temple. I'd say those are, two of the larger, more macro-focused maps. Alterac Pass, which we're playing now, and Cursed Hollow being, sort of the other really large maps. So we might see some, obviously more Dahaka here. Brightwing's going to be another potential. We could see Brightwing as well, or Falstad, I mean. And then, there's some spicier picks. You could see Ragnaros, very popular on this map. We could also see Abathur. We could see TLV. There's just lots of great macro heroes that could kind of change the structure that we've seen the last 2 games played. However, I wouldn't really put either team as better at team fights at this point. I feel like they both have taken a game off the other, just choosing to have a really aggressive strategy and win a battle of the micro play.
Yeah, interesting enough, PRO actually only has a 40% win rate on this map over 5 games, and 50% over 2 games on the side of Wholesome Halfwits. So they might have a pocket strategy in mind. They might have picked this because this is one of the least played maps by Wholesome Halfwits, and we might see Deathwing again. So hold on to your hats.
Hold on to your hats, indeed. All right, so here we go into the draft. Game number 3. It's anyone's series. This could be the best of 5 that we all thought we could see go after the end of game 1. Game number 3, we'll see how the bans potentially change here in this setup. Bans were almost exactly the same game 2 as they were game 1. Deathwing coming out immediately. That's a global. Oof. And a great hero being played by Lewd Panda. So they're just going to take that right off the table from the beginning.
Yeah, it looked super strong in the games I watched. I'm not surprised that it's taken off the board. There goes that Joe, which I was alluding to, was kind of a steal when they were first picked. So they're not wanting to see Dr. Sigeli on that hero. He was super spooky in the B Northeast Finals when we watched.
Yeah. Seeing a Junkrat coming out as well. Junkrat is a great map for him. He is, I'd say, S tier enough to be good on most maps at this point. However, here especially when the objectives are either on the lower right or the upper left-hand sides, he's able to pretty much single-handedly defend these point captures safely, and just be one of the most annoying things to experience trying to cap a point on this map. Dahaka being picked up by... Go ahead.
So, speaking of annoying, Dahaka has been selected.
Yeah, Dahaka is now here.
Falstad picked for global counter. And
interesting pickups here. I think they all make sense independently. The order is a little bit questionable. Dahaka, definitely a first pick, first ban, hero on this map. Makes sense that he gets picked up. The Falstad and the Tychus is showing both of your damage picks right out of the gate, so you can potentially say that Malavil on heals for Wholesome Halfwits is now just able to, see the kind of damage coming out from PRO and then pick a healer to counter that. However, with Murden and Jaina getting picked up, I think Wholesome or PRO is now in a position where they can maybe counter the front line pretty well.
Yeah, I think we might see a May out of Northern Touch. It seems to be something he favors. It works with the Tychus, and they are on the same wavelengths. I swear
Yep.
they are not stream sniping.
Wholesome Halfwits agrees. However, we did see a May ban game 1, so it has some precedent. And they're thinking the same way you are. Just we kind of know what Northern Touch likes to play. Let's ban that out, and we know it can be good setup for the way they like to fight.
See the Lucio again, and the Gazlo. That is a little bit of spice.
Gazlo's definitely an interesting pickup. I think it can make or break. He can either feel incredibly squishy or incredibly difficult to kill, depending on kind of how the DPS is structured for Wholesome Halfwits. We see the Lunara again. I'm a huge fan of that. Solves the issue they were having game number 2 with sustained damage. And with Jaina as the follow-up on the slows that Lunara also has with their own slows, it's just a lot. It's a lot of damage. Malfurion also coming out. I think I like the Malfurion again. Once again, saying, all right, we're going to have these roots. We are really good at setting up CC with the Muradin and the slows with the Jaina and Lunara. Follow that up with some roots and some sleeps, and we have a recipe for success in securing these kills.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but apart from the Jaina, this is the same comp from game 1?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Trade out Orphea for Jaina, and that's game 1 for you. Drastically different for PRO from game to game to game, though. Looking at an ETC pickup as the final pick and their main tank for game number 3.
Yeah, their front line with Gazlo and ETC definitely on the squishier side, so it'll be interesting to see if they can land some of these CC chains that they were landing in game 1.
Yeah, I think that I'm not totally sure how PRO is looking for fights to go. I typically consider ETC to be a pick tank. He power slides in. He sets up some great burst damage. You're really looking to get a pick quick. He is one of the squishier tanks, despite his ability to self-heal, so he then just kind of disengages a little bit and waits for his power slide to be back up. So I'm going to be interested to see if they're able to pull off the picks that they want with a Falstad and a Tychus as their damage. But as we go into game number 3, as we look at the side of Wholesome Halfwits, TKS Tanksta playing the Dahaka, Crooked Smile playing the Lunara, Dr. C Jelly playing the Muradin Neutrons on the Jaina, and finally Malavial playing the Malfurion.
We have Northern Touch on the ETC, Lewd Panda on the Gazlo, Delilah on the Lucio, Paco's Taco on the Tychus, and US Maps on Falstad.
I feel like US Maps is... It's just, for some reason, it's a name that trips me up a little bit. Seeing it, all caps, feels a little bit like I'm looking at a Atlas or something.
Well, he will be around the world on that Falstad soaking all the lanes, so maybe you are not far off.
On a scenic journey.
Yes. Now, the Knoll camp, or the Hogger camp, as some put it, is extremely important on this map. How do you feel each team kind of lines up in terms of their ability to take that, on cooldown or as close to cooldown as we see very often?
I think the quicker burn is definitely Wholesome Halfwits, with Lunara and Jaina both capable of taking those camps pretty quickly. We see the Jaina on it right at 1 minute, and I like that a lot because if PRO is a little bit too delayed, we do see them rotating to it now, then you're going to get that push on that wall a lot sooner. However, if PRO captures it second, is able to clear the objective kind of in the middle of this lane before theirs reaches the lane, then they're kind of, they flipped it and they're in the position to push with their camp and get maybe some wall value here. I really think that they are forced to look for Falstad value. We're kind of seeing the suffering that happens with Jaina and Malfurion. Malfurion not able to help with camps very much, not a good out-of-combat healer. We'll get Jaina back up to full, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah, and in the bottom lane, it looks like both teams have smartly kind of gone with heroes that can solo top and bottom. Falstad probably having the slight edge, I'd imagine, over the Dahaka as the range advantage comes through.
Yeah.
And the 3-mans are just clashing mid, trying to clear that up.
Yeah, inversely, Lunara having the advantage over Gazlo top and kind of seeing the opposite of what's happening in bottom lane. We do see Gazlo rotate mid, helps with the clear a little bit, and both camps are really just going to kind of crash in the middle to no avail. Both will be available, though, however, before the second objective comes out. Double root from the Malfurion, great sleep. Not really anything to set up there, but maybe flexing a little bit.
Yeah, you got to give healers their due, you know.
All right, let's talk about builds for a second. We have, Fingers of Frost coming from the Jaina. That is the Globe quest. Gives her a little bit more mana regen. Makes sense. Gives her a damage boost as well when it's completed. Moabiel hearthing in the middle of the lane. Tychus not getting there with the grenade. Little things like that, I don't love the... it's not really a risky situation now, but it's just a little bit of unnecessary information for the enemy team to have.
Yeah, on top of, delaying backs, might have made this camp come out even later. Looks like they're wanting to go a bit later, maybe to get the advantage, having the towers to clear as they were super on top of it at 1 minute. Some sprays coming out from the tanks, some good old, tank fun, I guess.
Kovir's asking, no gambling on winning on NGS. Well, that could be my fault because I don't know how to set up a bet. However, I'm also not the owner of the NGS channel, and if that has to be done at the channel level, then it is not within my power to begin with. So I think we can we just go, huh? I don't know.
Just bet in your mind.
You can bet in the chat. Yeah, bet in the chat. Say, make up your own currency and then say you're betting it on whichever team. Or call out wins. We'll talk that. I'll tally it in my mind. Just for you.
He is a genius. It is possible. So.
Okay, we see the power slide just barely hitting the Jaina, but it's not quite enough to get on the other side. Root goes out onto the Tychus, but everyone's just going to kind of walk away and reset here for a second. Mid is pushing in very hard, ends up taking a lot of this wall, probably both towers, and that'll be full wall going down. PRO.
That should regenerate over time, so that should be in the clear. Looks like there's a couple people heading top. Both teams kind of dancing around the objective, trying to get 10s. And it looks like they're starting to head there now, though.
Yeah, I don't think that, let's see, Falstad has his flight up, so I'd kind of prefer to see him in the lane top, just like we have the Dahaka here, who's using that global and just waiting until the other team is ready to go down. It ends up being Gazlo that goes top, though, to defend. Once again, I think if you're maximizing global value, it's Dahaka and Falstad in the top lane. However, we do see Falstad bottom, so.
Yeah, and it looks like ETC might get caught here. Good power slide to get out of harm's way.
Yeah. Both camps coming out in similar timings once again. However, a little bit later for PRO, they're going to devote some resources to clearing mid and then have mid up with their advantage pushing while the fight for the bottom objective happens. PRO a little bit closer, however, they don't reach 10s. There's a small window with 10s. It's going to be basically even, though. I don't think there's any value coming out of it here.
Yeah, looks pretty standard. We see the Twilight Dream again. We see the Thornwood. We do see Ring of Frost.
Yep.
On Wholesome Halfwits side.
We've seen Wholesome Halfwits use Ring of Frost before. Not with Neutrons, him coming in as a sub, but they're used to using that ult and comboing with it. Burden ready for that that walk forward by Gazlo. High 5 this time from the Lucio instead of the shield barrier. We'll see if that gets some value. I think it makes sense with the slows and the roots from Jaina. Both teams positioning aggressively. Grab bomb from Gazlo as well. Commandeer Odin from Tychus, and then obviously we see Gust. No memeing today. No meme beaming for PRO as Gust is picked up for the Falstad.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the grab bomb value. It can be a great counter engage. We've seen them use counter engages effectively in the last game. I wonder if the plan is to let them crash in and grab bomb and mosh follow up.
In the chat, Coviers says, I bet 1,000 Finagles?
Oh. Okay.
I don't know. On the team that wins. Death Defier says, I bet 20 Stanley Nickels on PRO. Wow. Watch out.
That's a lot of Stanley Nickels.
That's 20 Stanley Nickels? I think 20
like
Stanley Nickels is like 1 Bitcoin. It's crazy.
Damn, that is a confident man.
Yep. Okay, here we go. A little bit of team fight coming out. We see the power slide from EGC as he doesn't get really a ton of value. He ends up getting hit by the root, and the gust goes out along with the high five on EGC. Just going to be enough to back him away. They're in place. A little bit of a gank on Gazlo. Gazlo's on the opposite side, gets separated from the rest of the team and goes down as a result. There's just too much damage, and CC ready for that. Cap goes over to Wholesome Halfwits. Can they finish it? I think they can with Gazlo down.
Yeah, it looked like Gazlo was trying to make a flank, possibly with that grab bomb, but they were able to sniff it out when he was trying to interrupt, and that was just good heads-up play, switching targets by the Halfwits.
Yeah, agreed. I think before this objective, we've seen a little bit of an advantage from PRO in terms of, you know, the pressure they're able to put on the map. Even though they've been down in XP just a little bit this whole time, I think they've gotten more structures out of it in total. However, with this objective coming out, that's when you really see Wholesome Halfwits being put in a position where they can capitalize on, you know, an advantage. Gazlo being rotated again, ends up using Grab Bomb, but really to no avail. It's 1v4. He survives for longer than expected with some pretty big Ws, but he baited out some ults. I will say he got the Twilight Dream out, which is pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. About half the time on cooldowns. We'll see if they can take advantage of that, because they have about a 40-second window.
Ooh,
on
EGC Mosh coming out. They do not have an interrupt right now other than the root, which is enough, followed by the Ring of Frost. That's so much damage coming from both. TKS Tanksa was being hit by the towers, but he's going to walk out and reset. Now it's Muradin who's getting targeted instead, but he has Avatar. That's a ton of health to chunk through. That's mid-fork going down, and with bottom defended, top is getting pressured by this Lunara this entire time, and we'll see top go down as well with first objective.
Looks like they're heading north towards that boss with that space they created, and there they go, they start it.
It's a safe play. PRO recognizes that they're going top boss. They're like, all right, we'll take bottom boss. And with Gust on 15-second cooldown, I think this is just going to be a boss trade here pretty cleanly between both teams. However, top boss will be pressuring top keep, so.
At the same time, Gazlo is able to secure that mid camp, so someone will have to deal with that. Possibly Dahaka might rotate up, and there he goes. He thinks better of it and comes back down, and it looks like the rest of the team is going to clear mid on their way bottom.
I think Falstad, I like that Falstad, stopped the hearth there. I'd like to see the entire team, except for one person, rotate mid with that camp, although it's going to get cleared out really quickly. Bottom's pushing. They're going to have to defend that, which they aren't. They're kind of slow. That might be enough to do some actual, meaningful fort damage to that bottom fort. Maybe not quite enough value as I'd wanted to see, but they are opting to clear top keep and the boss there in order to keep it from getting as much value as it would otherwise.
Yeah, we'll see if Falstad's able to kind of secure that, as he'll likely be matched up with the Haka in the spot lane again. They do have that mid-camp pushing, and it looks like Gazlo's going to clear that. We'll see if the Halfwits try and force something here with their man advantage.
Oh, tongue on the EGC. Gust goes out as well to cleanse it. It goes into a root. Forces a lot of things from the Lucio and the Falstad. It's a good cooldown to have gone because that now enables Ring of Frost to get extra value. It enables the Twilight Dream from Malfurion to get extra value. If I'm PRO, I'm trying to hold until Gust is up again, probably, before I look for a good team fight. And 16s as well at this point, with talent tier advantage going over to Wholesome Halfwits.
Yeah, it should be interesting. It looks like they are actually positioning for PRO's camp and trying to steal that with their advantage.
You may have waited too long. 16s are just around the corner for PRO. Here they
Especially
come.
with the minus armor.
ETC's here, only 8 seconds left on Mosh. 16s are being picked up. Commandeer Odin and Ring both go out. It ends up grabbing the Lucio. Grab Bomb goes out, hits the Malfurion. Twilight Dream goes just as the Mosh Pit lands, puts it on full cooldown. ETC goes down. Camp goes over to Wholesome Halfwits. And there's really no one low enough to be in danger at this point on the blue team. So red team's just going to have to defend this as best as possible. Tychus go ahead and grabs as well, and then is going to just focus on clear.
Yeah, the Ring was actually able to hit Lucio on his way back and immobilize him, and he wasn't able to help that poor little ETC, and here comes a Gust denying another gank.
Yeah, it was an aggressive dive in from the Falstad trying to hit the Lunara. Does a lot of damage. Muradin rotates in aggressively on the Falstad, knowing that the mobility is down, and forces the Gust out. I think it was a great attempt. If they'd been able to get the Lunara pick, that would have put them on even footing here a little bit, or at least even an advantaged footing going into this objective. With both of the damage back on the camp, are the 3-man able to hold the cap? Don't focus kills, get the cap. Lucio grabs the cap. They're just going to give with only 4 seconds remaining. So Wholesome Halfwits is in the position that PRO was last game, where they have the structure, the very clear structure advantage. They can afford to cause these fights to go really long. I would say they have pretty great level 20s, other than maybe Wind Tunnel on the Falstad, and all the stuns that could come out from Gazlowe. I don't know that PRO is looking at any game-changing moments post 20. So these fights going long are advantageous for Wholesome.
Yep, and with this camp pushing mid, it's gonna split off the Gazlowe again, and looks like they jump in
out
on
the Lucio. So much happens. Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, unbelievable
you blink and you
combo.
miss it.
That's it. That's it. You can't get a word in without someone blowing up with these two teams. They love to scrap, and it is often.
That's right. Lucio getting just caught out from the the Muradin. The stun lands, the root follows it up. ETC actually lands a Mosh, but with Twilight Dream and the Ring of Frost, it's just too much damage for them to be able to keep up consistently. If I'm looking at damage as well, I'm not surprised to see that Lunara went unfair advantage. Pairing that with the Jaina and the Muradin, any procs on those slows give her 60% extra damage on her Nature's Toxin. That is a huge amount of damage when it comes to these fights, and Lucio just is not able to keep up.
Yeah, and I think it's really hard for Tychus and Falstad to get in a position to actually pump out some damage. There seems to be a clear range difference. And
Dive
another
in,
great
DC. Gust goes out. Jaina holding the Gust. Great grab bomb. Not quite enough to secure anything. Both teams are going to walk out pretty safely. Top keeper does go down, but with these the armor on this core and the fact that it heals itself automatically, they're not even opting to defend that. Instead, looking for these fights before 20 gets picked up by Wholesome Halfwits. However, that's just around the corner. They're not in a position to get a kill. They're backing off to defend.
Looks like we have the 20s coming in. Rewind on Muradin, Contagion on Dahaka, Astral Communion on Malfurion, going for the style points. Cold Snap on Jaina and Intensifying Toxin, and here we go.
Great Root and Sleep coming out. Not able to secure the kills with Lucio using High Five. Several targets. I'm not surprised. So Malavial went Astral Communion game 1 as well. That teleport silence. Mosh Pit does come out, but the sleep's already there. The Unstoppable from the Lucio saves the sleep, but the silence follows up right as the Unstoppable ends, and it's going to complete with the ETC going down. Are they going to be able to end here? We got some low characters. I don't think they do. I think they back off. It looks like that's what they're doing.
Might go for the bosses again, and they are on their way.
That's right. Looks like top boss is the path forward. Contagion's actually interesting. Game 1, we saw the Dahaka pick up the adaptation instead, opting for the heal and the tankiness of the extra, survivability in team fights. And, intensifying Toxin, which is what Lunara picked up Game 1 as well. So the Contagion with that splash silence on the other team, I think PRO is going to suffer if they're grouped around the Lucio for heals, and with that silence if Dahaka is able to land it.
Yeah, especially in a ring, could be huge, and it looks like they're coming to pressure in advance of the boss. Yep. We'll see if they can get a nice fight.
This could be the end. It's a shame that PRO wasn't able to hit 20 before this boss is going to land. They're so close. Mid-wave might be enough to grab it, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough. Is Falstad going to be able to save his Gust for Wind Tunnel? I don't know if that's going to be a luxury they have, even as close to 20 as they are. Commandeer Odin pops out. A lot of damage goes on the boss. Oh no, Ring hits 2 targets. It ends up hitting the Lucio and the Falstad, both of which almost go down. It ends up only being Falstad as the Lucio goes and grabs a few people, tries to unstoppable the Gazlo, but gets silent or gets rooted on the way in. The core is at a 3rd, the core is at a 6th, the core is at a 5th. Jaina goes down. It's just so close. I think the Lunar is enough to get it, and that's game number 3 going over to Wholesome Halfwits as this back and forth series continues.
Yeah, another game full of fireworks. Tons of huge rings, despite low or lower damage numbers. They were so huge that I feel like the heroes on PRO just weren't even alive long enough for Neutrons to really get the rest of his combo off. Lunara pumping out a ton of damage with 77,000 as well. Super solid play with only 1 kill going the way of PRO.
Yeah, ultimately a lower death game than we saw game 2, but 9 kills to 1. There's definitely a disparity there in terms of Phoenix Rising Onyx's ability to set up their kill condition in team fights. We've kind of seen a flip-flop from game 1 to game 2 to game 3 in the the damage numbers on each team. I wouldn't say that we've seen the DPS be pretty evenly matched in any of the games. It's either one team or the other that's able to clearly put a lot more pressure in terms of damage numbers on the other team. And I think I attribute game 3 to the fact that Tychus and Falstad were picked up 1 and 2 for PRO, which signals a ton of information to Wholesome Halfwits as it comes to executing on the rest of the draft.
Yep. I think, the range difference was quite noticeable. Lunara able to use Thornwood Vines and then come up and hit them with her Q. And she was able to whittle away the majority of PRO before the DPS was really in a position to follow up on any slides.
Absolutely. Okay, with game number 3 going over to Wholesome Halfwits, game number 4 will be Braxis Holdout. Let's see. Who picked this one up? Okay, this one's being picked by Wholesome Halfwits. It's basically whoever has the ability to choose first pick chooses first pick, which isn't surprising, but sometimes a team pulls something spicy.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like Wholesome Halfwits have played Braxis a grand total of 2 times with a 50% win rate, and PRO has played it 3 times with a 66.7% win rate. So taking them to a map where they have roughly the same win percentage, another team fight 4-1 oriented map, which seems to be how the Halfwits want to play. And we're just waiting on a couple people to fill out the lobby. But what do you think we might see here on Braxis Holdout?
A lot of the same characters that have been picked and been banned are, I would expect to see picked and banned again here. Typically a good map for Johanna. We could see a Stitches come out here, a great map for him. We'll probably see another Junkrat ban or pickup. This is a great map for him in terms of point control. Chromie is also really good in these positions. You see Dahaka being prioritized here as well. His ability to overload the team fight lane is really effective. And then his ability to duel the top lane isn't bad at all either. So I think teams are going to look to prioritize point control. I think the successful team is going to be the one that's able to put the most pressure on the enemy team's tank, though, because the tank is the one who ends up spending the most time sitting on that point, tanking the brunt of the damage, and countering the damage type with the heals. That could be really impactful as well. So I think whoever drafts better poke and better tank burn could potentially win these objective points more consistently.
I think that's a good call out. Could be a good May game if Northern Touch has able to snag that, as well as Deathwing not bad on this map. We'll see if it gets through. I will be right back in about 20 seconds, but it looks like they're heading into draft shortly.
Teams calling out in channel that they want to play Haunted Mines, and they're just going to, consider that the winner of each moving forward. We are going to jump into the draft for game number 4. Neutron's in chat calling calling themselves out a little bit, saying Jaina didn't even finish her quest. What a shitter. Come on. I was like, what is all this, this flack coming out in the channel? That's a little salty, but if it's self-effacement, then as long as it's in moderation, I'll allow it. So
just put the headset back on. It sounds like I missed some spicy stuff.
Yeah, Neutrons is giving themselves a hard time with not even finishing the Jaina quest.
Well, he hit the roots. He hit the rings. All is well.
That's right. All right, Sylvanas, the hero no one will play this series, as has been mutually agreed upon between Wholesome Halfwits and Phoenix Rising Onyx. Johanna being banned out by Wholesome Halfwits. They've played against it twice out of the 3 times. They don't want to play against it again.
Yeah, it's a contested hero. It looks like both tanks really prefer that. Will be interesting to see if the side of PRO puts a little bit more emphasis on their tank pick early, as Northern Touch looked to be a bit choked out in the last game. And I thought his May looked especially strong. So it'll be interesting to see if they change their strategy, and the Lunara's banned out. No surprises there.
Yeah, I'm really not surprised to see the Lunara banned out. It's been consistent poke damage, consistent sustained damage. Really pretty good clear here. Junkrat also getting banned out. We talked about that earlier. I'm not surprised by that ban. Good clear on the Zerg waves, as well as great point control with his explosions and traps.
General Pain in the behind, and it looks like Tychus is picked early. Solid open for PRO.
Doesn't give too much away. Great tank burn. Honestly, great wave clear as compared to a lot of the other sustained damage characters in the game. His ability to spec into his Q and just kind of spray and pray, clear that Zerg wave. The W is great. Pretty good poke. ETC being picked up from Wholesome Halfwits. Now, there's a couple ways this could be played out. We could be seeing a main tank ETC, or we could see an offlane ETC in the swap later on in the draft. I think it's something that PRO has to be thinking in their head, and there's certain offlaners that AA offlane ETC will beat, and there are certain that will beat offlane ETC. I think this is a great mind game.
Yeah, absolutely. And there you see the May come out. I think that's super strong. Tassadar, great wave clear as well. The ability to wall off anyone's retreat when you're battling over the point. Great hero on the map, and fantastic paired with May as well.
Yeah, I think we finally get to see Northern Touch's May. It's been banned, I believe, every game so far. And he finally gets it out. Also, Deathwing is still on the table. And I held my breath there because I thought it could be banned, but we end up seeing the Stukov ban. Stukov is a character we haven't really talked about. It hasn't come out, hasn't necessarily been banned every single time. He is normally a first pick, first ban as well. He's very meta right now. But
Yeah.
some healer choke saying you don't get Stukov, and in return, Malavio doesn't get Deckard. Do we see the
It'll
the
be the
Malfurion?
mouth. Yeah. Malf is super annoying to play into as a May.
Yeah.
You can root after you use your ice block, and you just take a beautiful little dream as the team whacks on you.
You get
But,
lulled to sleep. Soft
right.
vines come up and
And a KTZ.
wow, spicy.
We're,
I don't know, man. Kel'Thuzad, I love a good Kel'Thuzad, so I'm excited. I will say that. I'm excited to see the Kel'Thuzad. I think it's obviously a bit of a gamble, and it's a late game hero on this map. So I think officially with the Kel'Thuzad pick, we're seeing PRO trying to win these objectives early and immediately throw the game into a downward spiral for Wholesome Halfwits.
you see a Thrall come out actually in the offlane. Probably trades pretty well into offlane ETC, but with both of them having sustain, that might be an interesting matchup. But we will see if it actually is offlane or if Sigeli is main taking in just a second.
One of the reasons I liked the way ETC was picked up earlier is because it forces PRO to draft someone that can beat ETC in the offlane, which maybe means that they're not going to draft a Dahaka or something else that can maybe overload the 4-man. And then they ended up just keeping ETC in main tank role, which was always an option and on the table, and picking up the Imperius to battle against the Thrall in top lane, which I like. Both are high damage bruisers, both do really well at dueling. I think it's really going to come down to how well Lewd Panda can sidestep the spear from Imperius as to who wins that matchup over time.
Yeah, and the Halfwits really have a pretty nasty follow-up for ETC's slide with the roots pairing with that. Gonna make it pretty easy on Kel'Thuzad to stack his roots and potentially chain someone in to the Sleepy Time roots, which is just all sorts of terrifying.
Some people out in the chat calling out Neutrons as MVP, and then a little bit farther on, calling out, saying, "Why is Paco Taco so good?" And then Scooby521 saying, "Agreed with this Loki guy. Paco Taco is going to push this team to a game 5.
Spicy.
Spicy. some friendly banter coming out as both teams says that they're going to contest mid lane, which I'd love to see. I think just fighting under the boss, would just be great all game. So for Wholesome Halfwits, we have Dr. C. Jelly on the ETC, Crooked Smile on the Hanzo, Neutrons playing the Kel'Thuzad, Malavio playing the Malfurion, and TKS Tanksta playing the Imperius. True to their word, they go to mid lane.
And they are stood up. It's like high school all over again.
Oh.
Flashbacks are terrifying, and you'll never get over that. But Northern Touch is on his May. Lewd Panda is on his Thrall. Taco's Taco on the Tychus. Matt's on Tassadar, and Delilah on Lucio.
I don't know who to feel worse for. Is it you or them at that point with the high school dance reference? So
I don't know.
It sounded like you were drawing from some deep pain. Tyke is going for that gank top and not quite getting it.
Yeah, his minigun's still charged up though. You can tell because the barrel is glowing, and it looks like he's going to go straight to camp.
Ends up just disengaging on it and opting for siege instead. That makes sense to me. If I were this team, I would be prioritizing, both teams actually, I'd be prioritizing top lane camps. Neither one of these offlaners are going to have a great time clearing the camps on this map. So, you know, putting that pressure into top lane is a really smart decision for Phoenix Rising Onyx, I believe.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see this tank matchup. A lot of people think Mei is just the better ETC. We'll see if that plays out. They have some similarities in their kits, but it looks like Wholesome Halfwits are actually going to rotate Hanzo up and Calf while PRO is doing this camp.
A little bit of damage goes out on the ETC along with the chain. It's going to land and get some extra stacks to Kel'Thuzad as the Lucio tries to skate in and provide a way out. With 2 top, we need to see some aggression onto this point by PRO. Kovier is coming back in with a bet. 9,000 mega Bitcoin on US maps, plus 1 mega Bitcoin. So a lot of confidence on not PRO as a whole, I'd say, but US maps specifically playing this this Cassadar. So
yeah, what's a conversion rate, mega Bitcoin to regular?
No, I think it's Canadian to pesos. I don't know, like I think that's about equivalent. Yeah.
We'll have to look that one up after the game.
After the game. There's the route that you mentioned on the Unstoppable from the Mei, as you know, she tries to pop that that heal and survivability and ends up getting slept as a result. Finally clearing out that camp. However, they're going to Piero's going to get a lot of value. Some pretty even, like back and forth from this top lane. And as I go and rotate the off lane, I get the caster trap where I missed the pick onto the Tychus.
Yeah, as we were kind of talking about on the lead up to this game, the slide into root with the KT follow-up is just so gross. It is incredibly hard for someone like a Lucio to really get in there without getting, you know, hooked in by the KTZ.
Yeah.
Or getting slept. So it's tough, and here comes another stab.
Lots of people rotating top. Ends up being a 3-on-3 now with Kel'Thuzad there. It's a 4v3. Lots of damage on the Mei as she tries to run away. Oh, the boop saving the Q from the Imperius. Is it enough? And oh, the leap from the Hanzo is enough to secure it. Delilah with the absolutely incredible pushback, but it's not quite enough. Oh my goodness, that was incredibly well played. ETC is trying to take back over bottom, ends up pushing it off. That was so great. They're going to take it right back probably as he takes a ton of damage, ends up trying to power slide away. And the kill goes down with the W grenade on to the ETC from...
Up top, we see Thrall about to go down as well. Good counter pick-off, and that's going to force Pyro to be a bit unbalanced as they take the camp. But it looks like they're rotating back bottom, and there's going to be a bit of channel time going over to PRO.
Thrall definitely weak to those ganks. Has a bit of mobility with movement speed, but really no movement abilities that kind of force him to move and escape. PRO is able to almost capture this entire thing, but you know, the trade-offs happening back and forth. It's going to be a really healthy Zerg wave for both teams, whoever ends up finalizing this cap. I think past a certain point, it ends up being 100% for both.
Yes, and just want to call out some great play by Maps. Was able to buy his team probably about 5 to 10% with a great place wall as they were rotating into cap.
Yep, absolutely. See a little bit of an engage here for the bottom objective. And that's going to be enough to finish it off as they try to leave. The stun rotates out. It's going to be the root and the sleep on the Mei. She has no mobility at this point. Tries to walk away. Movement speed from the Lucio. And that's just enough. The Q from the Hanzo ends up missing, but that would have not been enough damage anyway. However, Mei grabbing a well is going to have to take some time before she's ready to re-engage. Two heroes already rotated top. We have the Tassadar, which makes sense for the clear, along with the Thrall, who's, you know, doing consistently pretty well as you could be expected right now. Thrall is a great late game hero. Will put out a lot of damage. So we'll kind of see if it gets to that point. Doesn't always on this map.
And Tyke is running for his life. 100 health.
Oh, misses.
Not
Does it? Not quite enough. Lucio is trying, skating so hard, trying to get there to that Tychus.
My lord. Again, that slide root came out on bottom, and it's very hard to deal with from the side of PRO. It'll be interesting, you know, how this game progresses. If they're able to continue to get these isolation picks, things will start swinging in a big way.
A big way indeed. Catching up on the chat. The dive coming out. He's going to dodge the stun, but not dodge the spear on the Imperius, followed by the root. That will be enough to gank the Thrall. And down a full level, almost a little bit over right now, but just about a level. That's going to be ultimate abilities. And with camp pushing up bottom, PRO is going to, you know, be in a place where they can play a little bit more passive, try to get the 10s, and then, you know, pull this game back into their favor if possible.
Now I'm seeing Maelstrom weapon coming out of the Thrall for the solo lane. What do you think about that pickup going questing in the solo?
I mean, it's not the standard pickup. I'd say both the talent tiers at 1, Rolling Thunder, that's standard, Mana Tide, that's expected. But the Maelstrom weapon kind of dictates going an auto attack build. He thinks he's going to be able to stack around the Imperius. I would argue that after 10s, you don't see a lot of the solo lane just hitting on solo lanes anymore. You see a lot more 5-man rotates, a lot more attempts at ganks. You know, bush positioning, I don't think you'll be able to stack that late game. And if you look at the team composition for Wholesome Halfwits, they're really not designed to stay in a fight very long. ETC does not want to hang around. Imperius uses his abilities, tries to get a kill, and then ends up walking away as well. So I would have preferred to see Ancestral Might, I think it is, the Wrath, Ancestral Wrath. Unstoppable coming out second this time, but it does pull in the Tychus as he takes so much damage. The Mosh Pit goes out and catches the Lucio. Northern Touch gets a pretty big wall. That will end up stunning 4 people, but there's really no follow-up damage, even though Tassadar is pumping out. Malfurion is incredibly low. Thrall is looking for that final kill, ends up landing the root, and that's enough auto-attack damage to land the Malfurion. ETC and Malfurion both going down in response to only a Lucio, and that's advantage with 10s over to Phoenix Rising Onyx.
Yeah, great turnaround with that ice wall. That Mosh and Hanzo arrow is just the stuff of nightmares, and it looks like they're able to chunk them out a little bit here.
Great damage by US Maps. They are just pumping out damage this game. And I'd say Tassadar is pretty consistent. Dive comes out from the Mei onto the Hanzo. A lot of damage from the Tassadar. Lucio is able to just cleanse the CC from the Kel'Thuzad.
Yeah, Delilah is playing incredible right now, doing the dodging and diving that you expect to see from Lucio, but doing it in a way that keeps him safe. So hats off.
Yeah, I mean, this is honestly a game where you have to be on your toes as Lucio. There's so many things that could catch you and result in a death for that Wholesome Halfwits kind of has in their toolbox. You have the power slide from the ETC, you have the Q spear from the Imperius, you have the, you know, the danger if you get chained by the Kel'Thuzad, and then you have the roots and the silences for, you know, Malfurion. It's just so many things going on.
Yeah.
Gotta dodge them all.
Gotta dodge them all. It looks like we might see another team fight with the Halfwits rotating into PRO. They're almost at level 13, but
yeah, try to wait. Try to wait.
They want blood.
Yeah, good route from the Thrall, kind of denying that that engage. They see the whole team rotated bottom, and they have to clear the camp, so they're going to use that to just push this fort really hard. Really great call. That is absolutely the right thing to do. Thrall can't defend this, and honestly should be backing up. He's going to get engaged pretty hard here if he's not careful. Spike comes out, Ice Wall goes, and only catches the Imperius, but look at those two, the damage both being caught by the Mei on the back line. That's going to be so close to a Kel'Thuzad kill, and then a Mosh Pit just catches the Lucio on his way in, and the Dragon Strike, holy smokes, that is a lot of damage. Everyone knew what I wanted to say.
This
the
is a
silence came
family
out.
show.
This is a family show, and we are not. No one is alive to witness it from PRO, unfortunately, as 4 people go down.
It kind of, you know, confused why they took that fight down Tychus, down
Tychus,
13.
yeah, down 13.
No real reason, as no one was bottom pressuring a cat.
They were taking top for it, but you could have just rotated in a lot more safely, pushed them off the fort, and not fought until you had even talents here. So.
Right. At a certain point, once they caught them in the wall and pushed them out, I think they just take that dub. But it looks like Halfwits have converted that into a boss and a enemy camp.
Yeah.
And a channel.
And a channel indeed.
The larger attack wave is heading
Boss and a full wave hitting bottom, that is going to hurt. I don't know that, you know, this is going to be a hard one to clear. Despite Commandeer Odin, despite the Tassadar's ability to do some pretty great wave clear, this is going to be a push and a half, especially with their ability to get the fort down ahead of the objective pushing. This is at least a keep. And you know, optimistically, Wholesome Halfwits is looking to end the game. You know, if they can pull it off, if they can get a few picks, they'll try to end.
Yeah, and this this push is really looking terrifying. We have Archon coming out, Tassadar doing his best. Hard for Thrall really to participate, but there goes the Earthquake.
Lucio ends up getting queued as well as stunned by the Imperious, but it's just enough to walk away. Oh no, ends up getting caught at the edge of Dragon Strike. That's so much damage just at the end. Twilight Dream goes out and hits the May from behind as well as the Tychus. This could be the end of it all as they push to win. Half of a boss still left and the wave getting hit as well. Thrall's trying to clear, but it's not going to be enough. That is game number 4 going over, and the series. Div B East Grand Finals with the winners, Wholesome Halfwits.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Wholesome Halfwits. You know, I wouldn't say, I mean, it could have gone to a game 5. We were so close. But Wholesome Halfwits was able to find some traction. You know, they looked, you know, really even game 1. Were, you know, punched in the face quite a few times game 2. And then by the time they reached game 3, I think they found a rhythm. They understood their win conditions more clearly, and they were able to execute on those comps effectively. So, you know, it's a great kind of transition, I think, as they played later and later into the matches.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Neutron's coming in as a sub, and I don't believe he played the same character twice.
Nope.
So he was all over the place, super hard to do, and did his dang job all 4 games.
That's right. Playing mage every single game. Different one every single time, like you said, and playing them all well. So big shout out to them. I know that Wholesome Halfwits it's hard, especially going into a grand finals, no less, and you know, having a person on your team that you don't necessarily have, you know, practice with all the time, don't have the hours with and alongside, but you know, played really well. So definitely big shout out to Neutrons.
Yeah, and PRO really was so close in most of these games. It was a 3-1, but really it could have gone either way, I think, with some of these fights, you know, coming out. I think the Tassadar was a great pick. They got a ton of value with it, and they were really able to turn some of those fights in the mid game. But unfortunately, they had a bad fight top, and the Halfwits really never looked back from that point.
Yeah, that's totally right. I agree. Okay, let's reach out and try to get an interview here, and in the meantime, we can kind of show the maps and the results a little bit more as well. That is series being picked up by Wholesome Halfwits.
Great. Do you want to pick the lobby? I'll follow you in.
Let's see here. Yeah. All right, welcome, Malabiel. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, I think there's more coming.
And Crooked
Oh,
Smile TV,
wow.
Dr. C Jelly, got the whole crew here.
Yeah, most teams are scared of interviews. We like them.
Yeah, you guys just pile in and say, hey, it's a party, let's go.
Me and Lavi are your biggest fans. I just want to let you know.
There you go.
We appreciate it.
Never meet your heroes.
That's right. We'll only disappoint.
Yeah, it's we like you guys because most of the casters are like flavor casters, but you guys are like analytical casters. And you know the game too, which is nice.
Well, thank you. That's great to hear. We probably spend a little bit too much time analyzing things, maybe think a little too deeply, but we enjoy I'd say I enjoy the math of the game, the strategy of the game. So it's good to watch teams that are spending time listening and trying to improve, and then analyzing and going into games adapting. And I think that happened this series. I think there was a little bit of feeling each other out, understanding, trying to get a feel for another division's meta maybe, and then playing into research and then executing throughout the series. So just kind of taking a step back and looking at the set as a whole. How do you all feel around the transition from game 1 all the way through that journey to game number 4?
Well, personally, I was mad that Crookie couldn't carry on the Zarya meme.
Look,
We were pretty upset that the Zarya meme did not work at all.
they were so carried by Johanna Falling Sword. Okay, that talent counters me entirely. Like, I should have won Expulsion, I guess. I didn't like looking at it, and they had Joe Brightwing. I've never played against a Brightwing that actually uses AoE cleanse for one, and two, they didn't pick Falling Sword in game 1, and I was like, oh well, they're just gonna not pick the good talent. And they did, and all of a sudden we had no combos, and our whole team fell apart.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get back to game number 2, but going kind of chronologically, I'm having a hard time remember game one because it seems so long ago, even though it was only 2 hours. Game 1, Tomb. Yep, it was Tomb. It was a kind of a coin toss. It felt like in terms of who was going to win that. It went back and forth. I think it was levels 18 across the board. All the forts were gone. All the keeps were up. It was just completely even. What were you guys thinking, kind of going into that with similar kill counts, similar levels? What was your strategy towards capturing the win game 1?
We had a sub game 1. Well, all these games.
Yeah.
We weren't really. Normally, we execute really well just to immediately kill someone.
Mm-hmm.
But with the sub, we weren't really getting that. So, we just got to the point where we realized it was going to come down to one last team fight. Whoever wins, that wins. And so we just played around for that.
Yeah, ended up getting it at that top keep, game number 1.
They let us get 22. I think they could have pressed their advantage a little bit more and got one or two keeps instead of just the one.
Right.
Because they had 20 they could have had 20 for a little bit before us, but the waves just weren't working out for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely felt like a toss up. Like we said, I think when you all got the pick on the Diva at the top keep, and then turned it also into a really excellent Dahaka grab on the Tassadar, which followed up with the Root and the Malfurion. It was just the series of events that led to the dominoes that ended game 1. You all picked up the Malfurion quite a bit. Obviously, that kind of speaks to what you were saying, Malaviel, around coordinating CC and turning that into quick kills. What was the thought going into game number 2 in the draft, where you had Neutrons playing the burst mages every single time? You were really looking like you were going for a single target dive, and then the only sustain was really Zarya.
Well, it would have worked, but they took the good alts.
Okay.
So the good alts just shut it down. It just was totally out. We just were totally outdrafted. There's no way to win it other than we were trying to do like a thing where the Zarya would go in alt first, hopefully play and like get all their alts out to stop that, and then the Nubrak would go in and follow up with the Deckard, but they just had so much to stop it. It's impossible.
Yeah, we couldn't kill anything. We just didn't have the damage to get through them on like any target. Like even at the end, I had a pretty decent Gravo on like 2 or 3, and it was including the Brightwing, but then Joe just saved them all.
Yeah.
And it was just, I guess, like I needed to get Joe and Brightwing in one ult, and that was just it wasn't lining up that way.
Yeah, they're
Like,
never
I had
together.
20 with the silence, like that was the only way. But we even had like a pick on their bot fort on Imperius and Brightwing, and we could not kill through them between Imperius ult and Brightwing.
Totally.
They were just unkillable for us with that comp.
Room Boy, you have questions of game 1 and then going into game number 2?
Yeah, it actually surprised me to hear that you guys felt that your cohesion was a little bit off in game 1 with Neutron, because I thought he actually landed some pretty massive alt combos.
Yeah.
When we watched your game and casted the replay, one thing we always called out was your team fight synergy, and I think maybe the bar is so high for you guys at a certain point, but I thought you guys played extremely well on the second one. Was there any thought to cocooning the Joe and then following up with the Graph?
Yeah, I think it has to be cocoon the Joe and then dive the Brightwing or someone else who's squishy enough.
Right.
Yeah, we just have to hope that we can kill before they can get the Joe out of cocoon. Whether it's
Right.
like Light Bomb ticks it fairly quickly, like Imperius, like his AOE can take it really quickly. So it would, that would, in hindsight, like that's what we would have had to have done, is try to get the Joe in a cocoon and then immediately just try to kill at least something.
Yeah, we just didn't have any. Just the Zarya meme damage was just not working for us.
Yeah, I think like the level of execution needed to make that work is so incredibly high. It did kind of swing back in your favor when you got those 20s, and you guys were able to make a good push. But yeah, I think you're probably bang on with that. But I thought you guys played great in those 2 games nonetheless. And then we swung over to game 3.
Yeah, game 3, Alterac Pass. I'm gonna circle all the way back to the original map bans. Is there, without, obviously you have another game left to play in the aptly named Grand Finals, because there's so many people in Div B. You have 3 tiers and the season just keeps going. You have that game yet to play, so not too much. I think it's pretty consistent for you guys that you ban
Wait, we
Sky.
have another game to play?
You have another game to play. I'm the first to tell you my condolences.
Oh, I was excited not to have to play this game anymore. I mean, I love the game, but I've just been playing it too much.
Yeah, well, you have one more left to go if I'm reading the calendar correctly as you play Div B West. And they're going to come in a little bit fresher. They haven't had to play a Div B West Grand Finals, only their finals. So
we're grizzly. We're fine.
Grizzled, yeah. You're battle weary and worn, but veterans.
My favorite caster.
Another team that we have no idea, we're not going to do any research on before we go into a match, and then we're just looking at their player profiles and like, what should we ban?
Yeah, well, going into game 3, you banned Sky Temple and Dragonshire game 1. Are you trying to steer away from the macro maps a little bit more, focus people onto teamfight maps? What's your strategy with those bans? And then you ended up getting taken to Alterac, right?
We hate the offlane meta in this. It's just not fun for that person. We try to stick to teamfight maps so everyone can be, having fun instead of just going back and forth in the offlane forever.
It's funny. Our offlane whereabouts might agree with you. What were you saying, Crooked? I think I spoke over you.
Oh, we always ban those maps.
Okay.
Like yeah, they're just. That's it. And we didn't pick Alterac. They did.
Yeah, right. You got taken to Alterac for sure. Yeah, I didn't know if that was an attempt to try to lean into macro
Joe
ahead of you. Yeah.
It was really just to get Joe, and they banned it, and so we just went Lunara,
we went Murd and Lu.
Dahaka first pick.
We went pretty much the
first
same.
pick,
We went the same exact comp as game 1, just with
With
a
the
Jaina
Jaina.
instead of Orchid.
Yeah.
Yep, we called that out in draft. We're like, they're going back to what works. I think the Jaina was a little bit more consistent than the Orphea. Orphea's,
He felt more comfortable on it.
right. Yeah, well, it's a melee mage, so that would have been. I mentioned in game 1, I wouldn't have wanted to play Orphea game 1. So against what PRO had, and I think we saw that it was always an explosion of one character over the other. But as you go into game 3, you all took a pretty commanding lead once you started getting those objectives. Were able to push it a lot more effectively and then kind of lean on them with macro pressure. Were you at some point in the game deciding to just kind of sit back and be a little bit more passive about fights, or were you always just trying to press that advantage?
I mean, we're bad at that map normally, so we knew going in, okay, we have to play camps because that's the meta for All-Track Pass, and then we were kind of just like going into the first objective. We were like, if they want to wait till 10, we'll just wait till 10 with them. We didn't really want to push it too much, and then once we were 10 and stuff, we were mostly just trying to just find a moment. That Gazlo was in the mid lane. He kept trying to step too far up, and we were just waiting for the right time to get a pick. I think ETC came in too really aggressively, and we ended up picking him.
Yeah.
And then we were just kind of waiting for them to overextend, so then we could take over. And then from there, we just had it. With levels, Lucio doesn't really counter Lunara as much as people want to think. She just bursts on a cooldown that's way shorter than his long cooldowns.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think them picking both their damage immediately also gave you all a lot of information going into that draft. Broomboy, do you have any questions for game number 3?
Game 3, I thought it was just super solid. You guys used your globals extremely well. I thought probably the better of the two teams. You knew when to take fights and when not to, and I thought it was impressive where you would get an advantage and instantly try and make the most out of it. I see a lot of teams kind of meander about looking for the next fight, but you guys were right on top of the bosses. Didn't look like a weak map for you, so I hope that bodes well for the grand finals.
Yeah, I think we've done pretty well on it historically.
Yeah, I guess we just don't.
We just get we get scared. We're scared of it.
We do get scared on.
Well, you know, those big maps, that's when you see some strange stuff come out. You know, there's a lot more potential for, you know, spooky stuff like, you know, Abathur, TLV, Medivh's, like all kinds of crazy stuff can happen with those kind of really large maps with, you know, lots of space.
Chromie or Junkrat to just infinitely broke objective.
Yeah, they're the worst.
Yeah, as the person who plays both of those on our team, yes, they're the worst. So I'm going to offer up to the chat as we move into talking about Game 4 to post any questions they have as well that we can pass along to you. Just type those in chat if you have any. But we'll go into game number 4. Another, you know, pretty decisive match going into the draft. Brax's holdout. What's your strategy there in terms of are you going in with like we're going to reactively draft to what they have? We want to execute on something specific. You know, what was the thought process there?
Our sub Neutrons said that he plays a really quality ARAM Kel'Thuzad.
ARAM Kel'Thuzad.
And wanted to last pick it.
Okay.
Yeah. And so here's a not sure if you noticed it on stream, but here's a fun fact of these series. He did not finish Jaina Quest, and he did not finish
Kel'Thuzad Quest either.
Quest.
Yep. He was very self-effacing and posting that in chat in between games, just like, you know, what an absolute, you know, bad Jaina, bad KTZ, can't even finish their quest.
I mean, 13
like,
minutes, he doesn't get a whole lot of chance, I guess. Not into that team. I mean, Lucio and May, they
well, yeah, we were a bit confused by their playstyle in that game because they were essentially matching us on being like kind of aggressive, and then that fourth game they just were so passive that we just ran over them because they just weren't even going at us at all.
Yeah, I think when they were going in aggressive, they were punished with the Malfurion into the May, you know, getting those roots underneath her ice blocks. Broom, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Malaviel, you have made me a believer in Twilight Dream. I'm a big Tranquility guy, but you were all series landing some super solid ones, even with the 20 upgrade. Just styling on people, and as a tank player, playing May into Malf has got to be one of the most frustrating experiences ever. and you proved that correct.
I was quite upset that they picked the May and I was forced to play Malfurion again. I want to play fun healers. I don't really find that one fun. But, silences are fun. A little bit fun, at least.
Just a little bit fun, at least. Yeah, the fights were interesting. Game number 4, quite a few picks rotating up on the Thrall. When the Thrall was able to go head to head with Imperius, they were keeping it pretty even. But just a little bit more apt to being able to be rotated. With an ETC pickup, it seems like definitely getting those quick picks, and then obviously using Power Slide to set up for Kel'Thuzad CC and for the Malfurion CC and everything else made a lot of sense. And just seemed like a lot of rotating. And despite you guys getting stood up in the mid for the dance party, that was sad to watch.
Yeah, we were all there waiting, and they didn't come.
Oh, well, we felt bad for you. A little sorry, too. So
we sure did. Yeah. Were you guys surprised at all with the Johanna priority coming into the match? Is that something you expected, knowing that both of you guys seemed to like playing it, or did that throw you off? Is that something you've seen all season?
Well, we in our division, not a lot of people played Johanna, actually. And if they did, they always took the other alt, which was just too easy to deal with most times. Yeah. So, I don't know. Doctor, what do you think? Were you surprised that they were taking it?
No, I'm not surprised. I think Johanna's great. I mean, we banned her. This was probably just the best Johanna we've come up against all season, though.
Yeah, he really understood the power of that level 20 unstop heal.
Yeah, it's dirty.
Understood the power, and by that you mean press R, cover as many people as possible, repeat.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great ability. It's when you get there, I think it's one of several game-changing ultimates that turn level 20 into a change dynamic. The silence for Zarya is another one of an example of that. The same with the silence on Deckard's level 20. If you are going in Tomb on Leo, that's a good example. They were so close to hitting 20 game number 3 on Alterac, which had given them Wind Tunnel. I think that may have proven to be difficult to play against on that third game. So you were able to clinch the victory just before that moment, which was really beneficial.
Yeah, Wind Tunnel would have been Wind Tunnel could have been problematic, but we were forcing out his gust so rapidly.
Yeah.
Like on cooldown almost. Like we would just burst somebody and he would just pop it, and it's like, okay, well, we didn't use any ults really. We just like Luna bursted with like Jaina. We're just gonna walk back in.
Totally.
So I mean, Wind Tunnel could have been spicier. They probably could have like gone a crazy Wind Tunnel into a keep or got us trapped against a wall and then just comboed everything on us. So yeah, Wind Tunnel could have been a problem.
But ultimately, you all in a 3-1 take the series pretty commandingly. So congratulations. I didn't see any questions come out. Overall, all the questions were answered that the stream chat members had when they didn't need to voice anything.
Of course.
So ending out this series, what shout-outs do you have? This is not maybe the total conclusion to NGS season 12 for you all. You're holding on nonstop. It's like a dream that won't end. News to Dr. C Jelly over there. But any shout outs and any last comments that you guys want to make?
My entire goal from now on out is to just change your mind on talent picks, because I'm telling you, W Sylvanas is the only way to go. Why burst one person when you can burst the entire team? And Redemption Hanzo is the play, and they wanted me to play it, and they got it.
Also, cleanse is overrated.
Cleanse is overrated. You don't need cleanse. All right, well, you can try your best to change my mind on W build Sylvanas. I've been playing Sylvanas a really long time. It's going to take a lot. I'm an old dog, and I don't learn new tricks. I think it does have its place, and I think when you played it, it was a good pickup. So, and you played it well. So I'll see that anytime.
I got a Neutrons wanted a shout out to his WoW guild, the operators on Benediction. They are not recruiting. Shout out to you guys for casting. Shout out to the team for showing up. And that's all I got. Oh, Boise State.
Shout out to TKS Tanks Those Coffee Company, Mellelo.com. It's MELLELO.com. Go buy coffee.
I feel like I'm obligated to say that NGS has beeped all that out in their their refusal to promotion. Yeah, not a sponsor, not a sponsor.
No. Oh, I did not know that. My bad.
I'm just kidding. None of that happened. I'm just saying that. All right. Well,
there are other coffee brands.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I drink other coffee, and so that must be true. But maybe I should try this one. So maybe I've just never lived. All right. Well, thank you all so much. It was a pleasure casting you all. We look forward to seeing how the next match goes. And
we don't. We'll do it.
You'll grind through it. Anything else from you, Brim Boy?
No, just generally congratulations. I know the season is super long and you're probably feeling burnt out, but take a few days and enjoy the victory. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys play again. And just great job, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Have a great one.
Thanks. You guys too. All right. And there you have it. That was a best of 5 series for Division B East Grand Finals. Final score was 3-1 in favor of Wholesome Halfwits over Phoenix Rising Onyx. Although it was a 3-1 series, I can't stress enough how close both these teams were. It was back and forth. Honestly, this could have been a best of 5 incredibly easily. With Wholesome Halfwits just picking up a little bit more momentum as the series went on, but really excellent play by Phoenix Rising Onyx as well. I'd say there were back and forth MVP game 1 to game 2 to game 3 to game 4. MVPs on each one of those games kind of flipped back and forth between team members of each team. So really excellent play, I think, coming out regardless across the board. Would you say, Broom?
Yeah. Super competitive. Looking forward to the next one, even if they aren't from the sounds of it. I think they'll continue to power through, and we'll see some more of this synergistic team fight action coming out of the Halfwits, and B West better bring it.
Here we go. All right, thank you so much for joining. It's been a pleasure for us to cast. We hope you'll join again. Keep watching NGS. Keep supporting this game. It really is a great game with a great community of players, and it's awesome to be a part of. So we thank you all. We'll see you next time. This has been me casting your game, hopefully to some degree of competency as Feljoth, and then my co-caster adding some excellent commentary and insight as well, Broom Boy. It's been our pleasure. We look forward to hosting you again. Thank you all.